Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to T3PO Live. I am your host, VashSky. Thank you so much for joining us today. Should get off on the right foot right there. I hope all you were watching Mr. H, watching the Pro Show, watching That Part Place in the morning, and catching up on all of the good things going on in entertainment, or at least the entertainment that should be fun. Maybe they weren't all good, but hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and try to make this a swell time here with our amazing panelists, which we got to go ahead and get on the screen right now. Let's go ahead and see if we can't bring them up. Let's see. We like this view? Yes, we do. We have the one, the only, the amazing LW Ghost, Erika from Erika and Raph, and Joshua, noted Walt Disney Company historian.
You know, Vash, when you talk about whether they were good or not good or whatever, my dear distant friend Jack Daniels, as in the booze, had a great slogan. Do you know what it was? Every day we make it the best we can. And that's what we do around here, right?
That's absolutely true.
It's better with a little Jack Daniels, but even so.
That's why they can say that.
Yeah, Jasper knew his business, that's for sure.
Fantastic. Oh, look at that. Is follow the Bradley son. He's in the theater right now. Oh, he's waiting for the post-credit scene. I'm guessing you're watching Captain America, Stunning and Brave is what we're calling it now. That's interesting.
I hear there's one post-credit scene and it's awful, but well, I don't know. I haven't seen it, so.
Yeah, I think it leaked online. Not
too
big of a fan.
Something leaked online? Is that possible in this age of high security?
Yeah.
Or is it high insecurity? I don't know which, but anyway.
It happens on occasion. I've also seen some images of the CGI from stills of the screen there.
It could be worse. It could be an OnlyFans channel and it's taking a leak online, but that's another story altogether.
Oh, no. We're going to start out that way. Fantastic, Lou.
Only so downhill from here, Bosh. Only downhill from here.
Anyway. Well, you know what?
Yes, folks, we only have high-class stuff on this show.
That's right. Yes, we do. Thank you so much for that. I believe Ron might be able to join us later. I'm not sure. We might have some other panelists joining us as well. Should be a whole lot of fun. Let's go ahead and get into our first story, though, because I think this one's very, very interesting. Joshua, Erika, Lou, I'm sure we'll have many comments on this because everybody seems to be commenting on this story right here. Here we go. From That Park Place, Disney scrambles to justify its sky-high prices after Wall Street Journal expose. Oh, and exposed they were. Disney is in damage control mode after the Wall Street Journal delivered a brutal takedown of its ever-increasing theme park prices. The report revealed growing internal concerns at Disney that the company's relentless price hikes may be alienating the very families that once made Walt Disney World the most magical place on Earth. While Disney executives insist that the parks remain accessible, the reality is that a Disney vacation has become a luxury experience, one where guests must either pay a fortune for convenience or suffer through long lines, frustration, restrictions, and constant upcharges. And yet, in response to the criticism, Disney is doubling down, offering a defense that rings hollow to the millions of families priced out of a trip to the parks. Now, that's damning in itself, and this article goes on to say why the guest experiences has increased in price so ridiculously, like the death of Fast Pass and it being replaced with Lightning Lane, an upcharge service, skyrocketing ticket prices, exclusive access for the elite, like extra magic hours, for example. They were available to all guests staying at resort hotels. Now you have to pay an upcharge for those as well, even if you're staying on property. And here you go. This is the big one right here. Behind closed doors, there are reports that even Disney's own executives are beginning to question whether the company's aggressive pricing strategy is sustainable. Wall Street Journal reports that internal surveys show a decline in guests planning return visits, signaling that Disney may be trading long-term loyalty for short-term profits. Indeed, I believe the quote inside the Wall Street Journal article, which we'll bring up in a moment, I think the quote is that they become addicted to these price increases. And I think they have. And I think that all kind of started actually. Joshua, you're not going to like me when I say this. I understand. I get it. But I think it all kind of started with the Michael Eisner era of the company. Now, there were justifications for that because as Michael Eisner was coming in, he needed capital in order to, reimagine or restart the Walt Disney Company. That's probably a better word for it. And in order to do that, he wanted, a big explosive growth at the studio division. He wanted acquisitions. There were things that churned the Walt Disney Company from, like a family enterprise into a huge empire. So where'd they get that capital from? They got it from the theme parks, specifically in the increase of prices. And you can see how that incline has only grown up from there.
Chart? And that's a great animation. That's a great chart.
Oh, yes.
The ones down below, the things like rent and wages and gas, they go up and down and up and down. Funny, but the WDW ticket only goes up.
Isn't that
and exponentially?
And with, as we've all discussed, fewer attractions, fewer perks, fewer everything. So,
yeah, there was a poor guy who devoted like hundreds of hours of time to catalog all of that stuff, and no one listened to him. That poor miserable loser.
Oh well, he is one hell of a little dancer, I'm told. However, so there is that redeeming value.
It goes up massively, especially during the Iger era. When the Iger era, launches off, then it's like it's all, it's just everything, right? Because what does he do when he gets in? I think the big first acquisition that he makes is the acquisition of Pixar, right? 2006, 2007-ish area for $7 billion right there. That money had to come from somewhere. It came from the parks. And Disney Plus, where does it come from? It comes from the parks. It always comes from the parks. And that's why I think the article is astute to point out that, yes, they've become addicted to these price increases because it's the only way they're funding what they really want to do, which is entertainment and tech. But let me go ahead and hear your guys' thoughts on all this before adding more commentary to this.
What they really want to do is take your money.
Anyway, they
and spend it mostly on vanity projects.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Emphasis on vanity, de-emphasis on profits, de-emphasis on cultural relevance, that kind of thing.
Absolutely, and I think it's it's interesting. This intent return metric that we're hearing from this Wall Street Journal article, it going down. It's like, we predicted that for years. In fact, I predicted that years ago. I remember complaining about this, I think it's a little more than 3 years ago now, on my former channel right here, formerly on Orange Grove 55. I'll go ahead and play a little bit right now, and has much changed. Let's see.
Who's that young guy in the corner?
I know, right? Let's see.
The price of entry into the Disneyland Resort or at Walt Disney World, it's going to go up. And look, this one is it's really difficult to swallow, right? There are so many things that are just simply just not there. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, they've charged more than they ever have for less than we've ever received.
There you go. That was back 3 years ago, and it's only gotten worse from that point.
That's the point. It isn't the price per se. It's the perceived value for money that you're getting. I remember years ago reading an interview, very interesting interview, with the North American sales boss for Rolls-Royce. And he said something really interesting. He said, we don't consider our competition to be other cars. We consider our competition to be yachts and vacation homes. And on that scale, their cars are cheap. So, if you're getting value, if you're getting quality, people will pay for it. But if you're saying, but we want you to pay twice as much for half as much stuff, and by the way, the stuff has sewage leaking out of it, that's kind of not a good look.
Erika, have guests gotten the message?
Oh, the guests are the ones screaming at Disney, for the changes, and all of the whys behind the reasons why there's less spending or not returning to Disney. Disney's just refusing to really listen and apply accordingly.
Yeah.
I don't
think
want
they're-
to jump ahead on a super chat, but I see Wildman of Yavin for 10 is saying, I keep saying this. It was cheaper for my family to afford to fly to Hawaii, stay at an Airbnb for a week than to stay at Disney with military park tickets. Wildman of
Yeah,
Yavin, somebody did a story a few months ago from New York City. It was cheaper to go to Bali and stay in one of those fancy, you know, like the imitation ones that are at the Polynesian, the huts
Bora
on the
Bora
water.
bungalows, yeah.
Yeah. Cheaper for a week there than it was to go to Orlando. And somebody else recently did one about it made more sense to go to Disneyland Paris because, hey, you got Paris too, you know. So, you know, and that's the question. It's the competition. It's the competition. And as far as the people, the fans reacting, the most important part is not people are mad about how much it costs. The most important part of that whole story is, and they're saying they're not coming back anytime soon. Because it is a standing truth of all marketing for anything that an existing repeating customer is infinitely cheaper to acquire than a brand new one. So
Thank you so much for the $10, Wildman of Yavin. We'll go ahead and make
Would
sure
be
we
nice
put
if they
super
didn't
chat.
fire everyone who already knew that, Lou. So,
well,
Now here's what's interesting. But see, Joshua, I think you're spot on right here, right? Because people who were in charge, you know, some of them actually knew what was going on. Particularly Bob Iger himself. This article goes on to say, when Bob Iger took over as CEO in 2005, he continued Eisner's investments in theme park expansion. Kind of.
debatable.
Citation dated, probably. U.S. ticket prices rose usually in line with inflation. No. 'Cause according to Disney park executives and analysts, obviously we know Bob Iger's story from there on, but you remember he left there. By the time Iger returned to the company in November 2022, so to recap, Bob Iger leaves in 2020, he comes back in December 2022, there you go, for
End
JPEG's
quotes.
ouster. He was worried that a company once known for magical family vacations was earning a reputation for price gouging. Oh, you think so? Shortly after returning, Iger called a meeting with Disney's Burbank, California headquarters and asked Josh Giamaro, the head of the experiences division, to come up with a short list of things the company could do to win back the goodwill of fans, according to people familiar with the meeting. The company could offer discounted parking or more days during the off-season with lower-tiered tickets, the parks chief suggested. It could also freeze the theme park's regular round of price hikes, but that could deprive Disney of hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, as we pointed out earlier. Iger chose to bring back free overnight parking at Walt Disney World Resort hotels and off-peak ticket promotions. The people said regular price hikes continued. However,
and then that brilliant idea, letting you go to the water park the morning of your first day's stay when you only get there in the afternoon.
It's great.
It was
And
ever so generous of them at that time.
I got to tell you something. Canceling Magical Express was a stupid perk not to give people because it couldn't possibly cost that much anyway. But canceling Magic Express when you knew that Epic Universe was coming and that was your best way of keeping people on your property and not going to theirs was insane. Absolutely insane.
It says right here, Disney
Yeah,
limited
and then
some
the
parks.
refusal to want to be a part of the Brightline, and the ice. I call it an ice train, but the train going through that area where Disney is. I don't know what it is. It's like they don't want customers. It's the most weird thing.
It is weird. I gotta get that on a sounder. It is so strange why they didn't actually take Brightline up on their offer in order to have a stop right there at Disney Springs.
Well,
I
I was reading the other day that apparently there's some new plan afoot where Orlando's going to chip in the money to run it. The only thing is, it's going to stop at Disney Springs at some place that won't hold your bags or move them from there. If you want to take the Disney bus won't allow you to put your bag on the bus. So if you're traveling with a backpack, okay, swell, but otherwise, you're screwed.
Oh, I see. Like your luggage.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know there was also some paths issue as well, because I think Disney wanted a path that went around Universal property and didn't stop there. But Brightline was unwilling to capitulate on that as well. Disney eliminated some perks that used to be included, like the Magical Express airport shuttle and the Fast Pass ride scheduling system. It said only about a third of hotel guests were using the airport service when it was canceled. That's still a lot of guests. If you're
It's a
talking
lot of
about
guests
18
not
million
going
visitors
to
a
your
year.
competition.
Exactly.
That's a lot
right?
of guests isolated on your property where everything they do, you make money off of.
Right. The company started selling new add-ons, including One Called Genie Plus, the original name of the paid line skipping service now known as Lightning Lane Multipass. Disney spreadsheet exposed in a hack of its internal Slack communication system this summer indicated that Genie Plus passes generated more than $724 million in pre-tax revenues between October 2021, when the program was launched, and June 2024 at Walt Disney World alone. And again, they've become addicted to that too. Which is why they now have Premier Pass and actually might have participated DAS and all that. Those changes in the class action lawsuit that we'll be covering today as well. Go ahead, Lou.
Basically, it's like you went back to 1955 and you said to Walt, "Hey, you know what we're going to charge for the e-tickets? $724 million worth of tickets."
My God.
It's so
Plus
bad.
admission.
Joshua.
You just want to take it from anywhere, or okay, good. You're going to leave me the whole entire thing here. So, I wish that somebody would have been warning them about this for at least more than a decade. But of course that was internally at the time because that poor sucker, just couldn't expose this stuff in the outside and in the open to the general public at the time. But nevertheless, he did find out that. By the way, people, I'm talking about me right now. If you look in the private chat at the link, can you go ahead and post that on the screen for me, please?
Do apologize. I was muted there for a second. Yes, absolutely
Yes.
can. Here we go.
Somebody was saying this. And if you'll scroll down just a little bit, because I didn't really hammer the point home enough. There it is. This is the before times. This is before COVID. This is before all of the messiness of 2020. This is everything else there. And this was just my my best articulation of the problem that they were having at the time. So you have so you have this one that's been going on. I was railing against the Chapek regime ever since he came into office in 2015. Mostly it has to do with the IP infestation for the parks, which, by the way, is a devolution of the art form of theme parks. Because the art form of theme parks actually evolved away from them. A lot of people like to say it's just but Joshua, they had Peter Pan's Flight and they had Mr. Toad, and that's IP. Well, it's not really IP in the way that we look at that phrase in the first place right now. But nevertheless, no, we evolved away from it. We started with the Tiki Room, and then it went on from there for a glorious 25-year span where almost nothing was IP related and everything was cherished. And it's all the things that we universally beloved inside of the theme parks now. So that one's one minor aspect of this. There was so much that was going on in that article, and it's very interesting that it's just Bob starts to talk and complain about the theme park prices just when he comes back, and I stress so-called comeback because he never left the company ever. Only Chapek was a CEO in name only. He had no actual executive power in that entire span. The whole entire thing about Bob Chapek being the CEO is basically a myth at this point. So he complains about it just so that he can go ahead and put Chapek under the bus, which is his loyal foot soldier, which said, and here is his directive here was one of his two directives for Iger's directives for Chapek at the time that he took over the parks. He said, quote, "I do not care what you do with the parks, as long as you make money." You can't say that to Chapek.
Yeah, that's the worst thing you can possibly say.
That is the worst possible thing that you could say. I look at Chapek as kind of like an algorithm that has gone that went way off the rails. Or you can look at it for some people. If you want to know how AI actually works most of the time, you need to watch The Sorcerer's Apprentice in Fantasia and realize The brooms are just algorithms. And he kept on going with this pricing scheme over and over again, keep on charging people time and time again for all of these services because, and I said this at the time, I said this probably around like 2017, somewhere around there, that I'm just like, yeah, you can milk this cow for a lot of cash initially, but you are going to, it is going to run out at some point. The goodwill is going to run out. They're not going to have, you're not going to have the brand loyalty. And by the way, when you remove classic attractions and wonderful vistas and everything else that's going and everything else that people actually pay to see, yeah, it's going to be kind of difficult. I mean, you could get away with these kind of pricing structures with basically, I mean, like there would be some friction with the public, but you know, if we still had things like the Fountain of Nations and Splash Mountain and all of these other things that are going on with that we've lost so much in such a short time period of you could have been able to survive this, but I'm not really sure. And this is the part that I've had problems with. I mean, I've been doing some client work in the back for the past like week or so, so I haven't been able to comment on some of these things, but it's very difficult on how you're going to be able to get out of this trend, because you've gotten into a place, and I this is the place that I legitimately feared for like a decade. I'm like, okay, what happens when it becomes too much? Because the only way that you're going to get out of this problem is that you're going to have to create more high capacity, high duration attractions, which they are completely unwilling to do on one end and unable to do on the other.
Yeah.
Because you can't say, okay, well, because the natural low resolution solution to this problem is just like, okay, well then just freeze prices or lower them. If you do that, you're going to incur a massive problem after that, because then you're going to deal with even more overcrowding in the parks, which have already decreased in size anyway. So how in the heck are you possibly going to get out of this other than doing what I just said, which you're clearly not going to do? So this is a really bad problem for the company. The only thing that you could have as a saving grace right now is that you sour so many people off of the brand that eventually, in like 5 or 6 years from now, when things calm down a bit for them economically, then you have a lower attendance where you're able to go ahead and reinvest again. But that's a very speculative way of dealing with it. This is one of many reasons why I have always I have been advocating for 10 years that what didn't happen in 1984 to this company needs to happen today. And to backtrack on that for people who do not know, in 1984, before Michael Eisner and Frank Wells came in to save the company, they were going to split it off into multiple factions. The theme parks were going to be separate from the studio. The studio was going to be separate from the television. All of these divisions were going to be basically atomized, and that would have been horrible at the time. But now it's essential. They need to cut off the shackles of the studios and their vanity projects and their wasteful spending, so that they can get the theme parks to where they actually need to be again. And I don't mean just to separate it off as just the parks division. I mean that there needs to be a separate Magic Kingdom company, Epcot company, Studios company, cruise line company. Everything needs to be in a completely separate one, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to survive and thrive if you're not hinged to the other ones. And there's ways that you can do this with licensing agreements where the guests themselves don't really notice anything. And if you want a perfect example of what I mean by doing this, the greatest theme park destination on the planet, that's a Disney one, by the way, is not owned or operated by Disney, and that is Tokyo Disney Sea. It is beautiful. It is well run. It is one of the best places. It is Shangri-La and Nirvana for all theme park goers. Everyone has said that. There's never been a single bad review I've ever seen about those parks. So yeah, there is a way to do this, but it's going to hurt badly.
Well, and the other factor that enters into it is competition. Even 20 years ago, it was Disney and Universal, and that's basically it. Yeah, okay, there were the Sea Worlds and the Six Flags and the whatever. But when Walt started, remember, the whole reason he did it, the whole competition out there was sleazy carnivals. Well, guess what? Dollywood isn't a sleazy carnival, and neither is Busch Gardens, and neither, I mean, so when people are going, this is insanely expensive, I can't afford to go back, but you know what? at half the airfare or driving miles or expense, there's a pretty darn good one down the road here a piece. And if the ones that are now being talked about are built more, look at this kids park that Universal is building in Frisco, Texas. They can build those in a lot of suburbs of big cities, and they're not only standalone and valuable and willing to make some money on them in a hotel and food and everything that you get at a big park. They're inventing, growing the audience, saying, hey, next time let's go to Orlando. Hey, next time let's go to LA. Ditto for the haunted stuff in Vegas. By the way, did you see where Circus is not long for this world? And the rumors in Vegas are that Disney is going to buy the property and build a hotel.
I heard about that. Yeah,
I don't know if it's true, that part, but I do know that they are about to disappear. So,
I'll say this: back in the day, I used to hear from Disneyland executives that their biggest competition out there on the West Coast wasn't Universal Studios Hollywood or Knott's Berry Farm, but actually Vegas. So it wouldn't surprise me if they want to go ahead and expand that area. We've seen theme park proprietors get there in years past and recently with Halloween Horror Nights and so forth. Go ahead.
And yet, on the other hand, when MGM tried to do the theme park, it didn't work.
It didn't work. Yeah. Well,
at all.
I don't think there would be a theme park component to it. That's the thing.
Well, that's true, but there will be a gambling component, and at that point, Kitty bar the door as far as gambling on all the ships.
Indeed. I was gonna bring Brer Oswald on. I don't know where he went. Brer, get back in here.
Did he hop away? He's not supposed to hop away. We got to catch him.
The Briar Patch.
I know about this. I used to own a rabbit. He was adorable. His name was Coco. They are very hard to catch when they start running around. This Oswald character better come back.
Yeah, we'll still
say the magic word.
You know what?
Hassenpfeffer.
I think Erika caught him. Here we go. Brer!
Yeah, sorry.
We got him.
we got the rabbit. Okay, hello there, sir. You can speak on exiting attractions, right?
Of course.
Getting rid of all this stuff and raising the price while they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Your experience, Brer, what's in terms of price hikes, in terms of the affordability for the regular paying guest?
Oh, like the vacationer? It just keeps going up while the value keeps going down, and it's not worth it anymore.
I have to agree, and I think everybody else does as well. Let's see here. There is a broader sense among U.S. American families that experiential vacations are becoming unaffordable, according to a recent survey of more than 2,000 U.S. households conducted by the Harris poll for the Journal. Wall Street Journal, that is. The survey found that 74% of respondents believe that experiences like cruises, amusement parks, and visits to Disney resorts have become financially out of reach. The poll indicated that lower-priced, nature-focused vacations are gaining ground on pricier resort and theme park trips. I think we heard that actually from Mickey Views and so forth. He toured around the country and was like, hey, theme parks might be down.
But
parks
you know what?
Experiences are up. Go ahead.
You know what's interesting about that, too? The whole attraction when the cruise business got big was you pay one price. You know up front what it's going to cost. Your room, your food, your entertainment, everything, maybe not drinks, but everything else, all part of the deal. Well, when the parks say, oh, no, we're going to nickel and dime you, and you're going to find out there's add-ons and extra charges once you get here if you don't do your homework and find out in advance and say, I don't need that aggravation. So it's kind of going full circle as far as the experience. Now, what you said about nature stuff, if I am the typical family of four making, I don't know, what, 75 grand a year, something like that, and I like camping, I like the great outdoors, and you've got a whole country full of great outdoors, does it make more sense for me to go on the credit card at 21.5% interest to go to Disney for a week? Or does it make more sense for me to buy a camper and put it behind my pickup I use to go to work anyway and have a world of different vacation possibilities where I don't have to pay for luggage and I don't have to pay for transfers and I don't have to pay for parking or, all right, a little bit. But people are making these equations and making the sense of it. And people are not stupid.
Well, they're not stupid, of course, but my question is, like, don't you see that some of this is kind of like an apples and oranges kind of equation? I mean, because yeah, I mean, all of those things are there, and there have been other places that have been in the ascendancy, like Dollywood or something of that nature. But at the same time, you know, those types of recreation have existed for nearly a century now, or at least as long as the national parks have been around. Probably even longer than that, if you want to, you know, dip into history on it. But at the same time, and again, I'm not defending them at all. I'm their harshest critic in these with these price hikes. But at the same time, it's just like you can't tell me that there is an actual substitution for the Magic Kingdom in the U.S.
There isn't.
You know, other than Disneyland, but we already know that. It's just like there's nothing there for it. So,
but if your definition of the reason you go is because of the rides and the shows and the parades and the food and the fine. But if the definition that I hear most in every discussion of this subject is making treasured family memories that will last the rest of our lives, you don't necessarily need Tiana's Bayou Adventure to do that.
Oh, no, you don't.
True, but that's a bit of a straw man. But
maybe so. But I'm just saying, people are saying, you know what makes more sense for my budget and for my future and for my kids' future, especially with the cost of everything else of raising them going up. You know, there's all these funny memes around. I saw a thing with alligators and broken eggshells, and it says, by the way, when you go to Florida, don't bring home those discount eggs that you think are cheaper than the ones at home because they hatch.
See, I think Joshua's point is interesting here, because I don't think there is I don't think there is a substitute for Magic Kingdom or Disneyland or anything like that. I do agree with you, but I would also argue that Disney has been tarnishing the experience for years now, and I think
that's my argument as well. It's one of those things where you have to have two conflicting thoughts in your head at the same time, and that makes it extraordinarily difficult to kind of thread this needle when you're dealing with these kind of situations, because I don't look at it as, okay, yeah, sure, Disney's going down, but Epic Universal. I'm like, well, that's not. Those aren't equivalent in my mind at all. I mean, there's no substitute for one. There's no justification for the other. So
but
I look
the
at
question
it
is not the individual one-time trip. The question is the year after year repeating.
Correct.
And in a world where the palette is so broadly spread, whether it's between Disney and Universal or all the other places we've talked about around the country, or camping or whatever. Maybe these things that we're living, and let's face it, Disney World is all about return, and certainly things like the timeshares are about, hey, it's cheaper. You can have 2 weeks a year for X number of dollars, and you'll have a place every time, and it'll have a kitchen, and you can. What if I don't want to go more than once every 5 years instead of every year, or instead of every 6 months?
Well, I mean,
in terms of substitution, some families are backed into a corner and they don't have a choice but to find a substitute.
Right.
And then as a parent, you have to look at your family and really get down to, okay, well, what are the values that I want my kids to walk away from when they grow up? Theme parks it's one part of vacationing, but it's not everything. And I mean, having grown up just an hour away from Disney, we never vacationed in theme parks. Never. We went now and then because Dad liked Epcot, and that was about it. Never went to a water park until I got to high school. I mean, we were, not dirt poor, but Mom and Dad struggled to just put food on the table. So the vacations that we had once a year were on the beach, and it included my grandparents, and they paid for a bulk of that. And what we walked away from it, looking back now, I'm in my 40s and my younger sister's in her later 30s and our older sister's in her 50s. And collectively, we have a plethora of so many family moments and conversations and jokes and even the food, the gatherings that we talk about today. And we want to pass that on to my nieces and nephews who have greatly been robbed of that, mainly through a matriarch family member we had years ago who passed away. And it's just our family time has never been the same for holidays and vacations and stuff. But I think people are really, there's more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to vacations. And like my dad always says, Disney World is not the only show in town. And there's more to the world than just Disney. And he's not wrong. I get that it can be a big deal, but at the end of the day, it is just a thing. It is it's just
it's also
luxury, not a necessity.
It's about proximity and attitude. Look, growing up in the Los Angeles area, simultaneously with Disneyland, basically, I was born in 1953. It was born in 1955. I've got 8mm movies somewhere of teeny tiny little me running around through the fountains at the Disneyland Hotel Starkers. So it was the neighborhood place, even if it was a 30-40 minute drive down the freeway from where we lived. And now that's 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever the hell it is. I don't know. But by the same token, in that era, my parents were weird. Their friends thought they were crazy because we went on vacations together to other places. We went to the Seattle World's Fair. We went on the very first Princess Cruise up to Alaska. And then on weekends, we'd run away to Palm Springs or San Diego or the mountains in San Bernardino. And their friends said, why don't you leave the kids with the grandparents and go have fun on your own? And my folks said, no, we like it. We enjoy it. God bless them. I'm glad they did. But it's a different thing, to have it in your backyard. But when you have to make a major commitment of transportation and expense, and nowadays, my God, I won't fly anywhere unless I absolutely have to, because just the ordeal of doing it is so awful to me.
I'm going to go ahead and highlight this one thing here. That this is something that I didn't feature in that Park Place, and I remembered as you guys were talking about it. This kind of generational wealth gap, maybe. Very interesting. Mm-hmm. This fall, Disney sent its own post-visit surveys to members of the company's Disney Vacation Club. That's their timeshare service, with 47 pages of questions. It's a big survey.
47 pages.
Yes.
How many would they get back?
One for them.
They can be long, Lou, if you've ever gotten one.
They're huge. They're huge. Yeah.
No, I just wonder what the percentage is of people who say screw it and throw it in the trash as opposed to actually responding.
I think it's one question per page with these. It really is. It's one question per page.
Oh.
This is
so it's 47 questions.
Mostly about visitors' household finances and travel habits. One survey asked visitors how likely they were to be receiving/managing an inheritance or to experience, quote, the loss of family member or loved one over the next 5 years. Talk about invasive right there.
I got to tell you.
I've seen this myself. Oh, yeah. The reason why they asked that is because there's something that we, when I was working in the deluxe resorts, we would constantly talk about that because there was always the matriarch, patriarch who was paying for everything. Sometimes it was comical and annoying, but most of the time it was just a matter of fact that it was people that were the septuagenarians and the 60-year-olds that were footing the bill for everything. People that were in their 40s, sometimes upwards of even 50s, weren't spending a dime on these vacations.
Wow.
It was one of those things too that this is a little bit more of an inside baseball type of thing, but like at least 50% of the time when I had guests that were there that were the matriarch, patriarch who is footing the bill for everything, they let you know about it in extraordinarily obnoxious ways. And really, it's just like it was walking a tightrope to get them to be quiet with that, because they'll say it's just like, well, you'll have like a 5-room check-in or something, and they were so concerned. It's just like, but I'm paying for everything. It's just like, yes, you are paying for everything, but these are 5 separate rooms, so they can be checked in by 5 separate people, and you could get this done really quickly. Thank you for paying for that. It's just like, make sure that everyone thanks this person for paying it for it. But let's move on from here, please. So that's
I'm glad
really
I
a
didn't
lot
have
of
a family like that.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, my
it was
grandparents
awful.
took me with them to go to the New York World's Fair. Not my brother, just me and an aunt. And we had a grand old time. But I'm so glad I was there, But
Right. That must have been super
yeah.
cool. Speaking of somebody who was also there just about at every single major event and worked every single job possible, it's the one and only Ron from All the Bradley's Fun. Ron! I mean,
He's muted.
we're going over.
Sorry, there. Nope, I got it.
Ron, rumor has it you've been falcing around all afternoon.
Oh my gosh, that yeah. I didn't see a Falcon movie, that's for sure.
Stunning and Brave?
Stunning and Brave.
Stunning and Brave. It's a new world of a whole bunch of new Braves, I guess.
We were talking about the price of a Disney vacation, value. Obviously, yeah. Obviously, it's gotten really askewed lately. And yeah, apparently they've been sending out surveys asking about inheritance that, visitors might be inheriting within the next 5 years from dead loved ones or family members. This is crazy.
That's not creepier.
No, not too creepy.
No, it's
And if you give us your
morbid
grandmother's
thought.
name, we'll send her a coupon for a free wheelchair at the park. Well, not free, discounted.
Lord.
Discounted.
Well, here's my question though. They should already know this data. That's the part that's kind of like ridiculous to me. I'm like, have you become so incompetent in your that you can't, that you don't already know this? I mean, like, you can clearly see that on resort reservations. You can see that on park tickets. You can see. I mean, if you're looking at a line item there, it's just like, let me look at this. Okay, this one person who's like who's 75 years old just paid for 10 people to stay here for 14 days. I wonder what that's about. You can figure this out on your own. You don't need to figure this out by using a survey. I mean, that's sort of like laziness there. I mean, it's just like, look, you already have that data. You already have this information. So why is it that you're asking people for it? Is it that you laid off everyone who would know this information? That's a good possibility.
Did the H-1B replacement IT guys from India not know how to figure that out from the data?
Yep, we're thinking the same thing, Lou. We're thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about a company who hires a bunch of people who can't look down and figure out what gender they are. So let's.
You're talking about a company that hires people who look up and say, "Oh, sewage leaked in that ceiling. I wonder." Nah, it wouldn't cause any structural damage that'll fall on people 2 days later. It couldn't possibly happen. I mean, never mind their engineering competence. They've never watched an episode of home reno stuff on the Home and Garden channel, to know that. Mike Holmes is a stranger to them,
Erika, you were to say?
No, I was going to say with the whole inheritance thing, not everyone gets an inheritance. There are families that struggle even generationally, and there's just no inheritance to pass down. I know, because that's us.
And it's not worth what it used to be.
Yeah, and even if there is one, it's probably just enough to maybe put a little bit into your maybe groceries. Like my grandparents, when they passed away, they were insistent on getting bonds, and you couldn't tell them, they're not really worth a whole lot. They didn't care, because in their generation, back in their era, that was what you did. That was
you clip the coupons every 6 months or whatever, right?
Yeah. So my boys got like maybe $300 each after their great grandparents passed away, and I mean that barely pays like for one ticket.
I worked on a sitcom once. One of my favorite lines from all the shows I ever did. The mother is talking to the son, who's the main character. She says, "Your father was a terrible liar." He says, "Really?" She says, "Yeah. He told me he had an inheritance. It turned out it was male pattern baldness." So,
Jeez.
But even if I got like a decent sized inheritance, I would rather pay off my bills and some of my debts than before I will go on a vacation, because I would want to free up my cash flow
Right.
so I could afford my own vacation, but clear the debt. So you have your cash flow coming in monthly to save up for your vacation, and you can pay cash for your vacation. But this is like, Dave Ramsey, mentality.
You are way
Right.
too responsible. Okay, this is making way too much logical sense. I won't have this kind of thing. Do not attempt to cloud the issue with facts. Okay, do not do that.
Disney doesn't want you, Erika.
Yeah.
They want the
I can't
person
be
that
broke. I
splurges
still
all
have
the
checks
money
left
ever.
in the book.
Yeah, but really though, what they're asking for this, they're looking for basically, like I can even say this non-hyperbolically, they're trying to count down to doomsday for their revenues. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to figure out. It's just like, okay, fine. If you have this many people here, and then you could go with like actuarial tables. Okay, how many people are going to die at this particular moment? What is going to happen with all of this? Yeah, they're just like, okay, so wait a minute. We can milk this for the next 6 years, and then it's over. So what we're going to do is we're going to milk it for 5, and then I'm going to retire.
Hey, by the way,
Those boomers are going to die, and those Gen Xers are going to inherit, and they're going to come to our parks.
I've never been involved personally in a timeshare. If you die, does the obligation continue to the heirs, or does it just end?
You can bequeath it. Yeah, you can will it. You can bequeath it to somebody else. And just so that everyone knows where my alliance is on this, is absolutely. I love Disney historically, but I personally and very proudly anti-sold 7 DVC memberships.
Oh, wow. That's really
people ask my opinion, and I'm going to give it honestly. I'm just like, no, then this is just absolutely not worth it. Even in the good times, it wasn't worth it because of the enormous investment, because it locked you into a certain vacation for the rest of your life.
And the fact that they can change the fees at will, it's not in there anywhere as far as any kind of limit. Oh, by the way, this year your annual whatever maintenance costs are going up by $12,000. You got it? Give it. You
the
don't?
value of points too.
There's another problem with DVC that nobody talks about, and that is that you own nothing. Disney will not let you own anything. With other timeshares, you technically own a fractional real estate, but with DVC, you are on a lease. And so it expires after a certain number of years if you don't buy into it again. With technically speaking, with other timeshares, you still own them. It's all convoluted. I sold timeshare. Like Vash said, I've had a ton of jobs. And yes, indeed, I did work for this was Fairfield. I sold timeshare for Fairfield, but I also worked for the Disney Vacation Club as an advanced sales rep. So I had a real estate license in Florida. I had to learn about all this stuff. It's really like Disney is, as far as timeshare ownership, you don't own anything with Disney. You're just paying money to borrow, their real estate there. The best way to stay in a Disney Vacation Club unit is to pay for somebody else's points, because usually people will be desperate to get rid of them, and that's a good way to go. But yeah, it's yes, you could say that I am admitting to having been a former scammer. Let me put it this way.
A couple of these. Hey, we'll pay for your weekend if you come listen to the pitch for 6 hours in Palm Springs and Vegas, places like that. And I never saw the attraction, but I got a room and a pool and whatever. So
that is 99% of the people, Lou. And yes, you could say that I was a scam artist, but to be fair, Wild Man, if you haven't, I sucked at it. I was horrible at it. I'm way too honest that I can't scam anybody.
On the other hand, maybe cosmic justice is why you today paid, you said $11 for a movie that wasn't worth it. So you're getting the yin and yang of financial.
I'm on the very raw end of financial justice. I promise you that.
Yeah, well,
Bring up the super chat right here. This is literally one of the funniest super chats I've ever seen, ever. Go and show with 499. DVC is going to mail out pillows shaped like Mickey with a note that says, quote, "You know what to do."
Jeez.
That's some dark humor there,
Yeah.
folks. That's for sure.
It's funny, but it's actually the opposite. They want to keep them going for as long as they possibly can.
That's fair.
But yeah.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. But speaking of somebody who we want to keep going as long as they can keep going, that is live streamer extraordinaire, Barry Plays 28. Bob!
Hello. Hey, everyone. How's it going? Whoa. Brer Oswald, what's happening? Good
How's
to
it
see
going?
you.
Good to see you.
Good. And we got Erika and Lou and Josh and Ron. Wow.
Which means that this entire panel is Yogi Bear. Nuts and Berry.
I was going for Romper Room, but okay, sure, no problem.
No, we're the nuts and you're the berry. But he always when Boo Boo would
go
say,
get the
we're
pick in the
supposed to eat
basket.
nuts and berries. Don't get the nuts and berries. Yuck. Anyway,
Yogi,
Lou.
do we have to eat the
speaking of,
nuts and berries?
Speaking of nuts and berries and things that we don't like, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of DEI, huh? There you go. You know what?
Well, I'm
Never
white,
mind.
so I can't go in. No one else can talk, right? No.
There's a joke in there I was going to say, but
God,
not gonna
sorry.
say. So for that Bark Blaze,
Stole
Disney
your
defies,
thunder.
Disney defies Trump order on SEC, DEI and SEC filings, admits to tying bonuses to race and sex-based factors, appears to list diversity as a skill.
I just want anybody to imagine somebody interviewing, a Bull Connor type in the South in the 50s with a fire hose in his hand and asking him, well, how come you don't have any people of color on your police force? And he says, because whatness is a skill.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
It
work,
is-
would it? Wouldn't work.
No, it wouldn't work. And guess what? It doesn't work for Disney either, as we've
No.
seen their ranks taken over by people who, I don't know.
What if you just said to him, Bob, if it's such a great skill, how come all the movies these people make lose money?
That's a
How
fair
come
point
the
right
audiences
there.
don't like them?
This is the height of brain disease. I mean, this is actual psychological rot in Burbank. I mean, this is profoundly sick. Go ahead, Vash. I'll continue later. Go.
It's
Well,
psychological
yeah.
rot only if you believe they're sincere. I don't.
That's a fair point. Things might be changing, though, a little bit. Let's see. Disney dumps DEI initiatives in the SEC filing as corporate backlash grows, but is the company just hiding them behind the scenes? This correlates with our other reportings that apparently Reimagine Tomorrow and Stories Matter, those websites and portals are gone effectively.
Good riddance.
They all redirect to this page right here, which is very, very interesting. However, I've got them cached, so we can go over them right now. What was Stories Matter? Stories Matter was the subdivision under Reimagine Tomorrow that were responsible for taking your favorite rides away, including, I don't know, maybe the shooting gallery, masks at Adventureland, Jungle Cruise having been changed out completely, and also to our beloved Splash Mountain being reimagined into Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Yes, Stories Matter was behind all of this and much, much more. Actually, we were actually just talking about how Stories Matter may have impacted Haunted Mansion, for example, with these sensitivities of people, right? And their depiction of the bride, and how that might impact the hanging man in that foyer scene right there. Here you go, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. One of their proud achievements right here, getting rid of Splash Mountain. It is intolerable and it is terrible. Well, all this stuff, like I said, has been effectively wiped away. Now the question remains, though, how much of what Stories Matter did is still operating, but maybe under a different name? Because from what I understand, Carmen Smith, the head of that division, is still there. Right, and we know she was very instrumental in bringing something like Tiana's Bayou Adventure to life. Mm-hmm. Always there with the, by the way, with the, Still can't believe this happened. Those research trips, right? She was just there in New Orleans all the time, and you could really get that flavor.
You mean the
right,
booze cruises?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's the correct
Booze
one. Yeah.
cruises. Yes, that's Trina Carter. But here you go. Here's Carmen. All right, there you go. She's getting some beans in New Orleans. It's fantastic, right? Unfortunately, didn't amount to a better attraction, as we all know.
Yeah, this is where the budget went.
Exactly. What's
just
taking all of
just
this?
forget about everything else that's wrong with that attraction and with this whole process. How can you go to a so-called research trip, or several of them, to New Orleans and come up with a plot that is, hey, we got to go find some musicians in the New Orleans area because we can't find any?
It doesn't make any sense.
Anyway.
It doesn't.
And then
there's so much that
Josh
doesn't
just
make
put
any
up,
sense.
the natives are getting restless. So you can't win for losing, Bob. Dissent grows.
Indeed.
Backlash.
Yes. We'll go into that little variant of this discussion as well. But Bear, I want to really get your reaction here.
Just let Ron tell us about Captain Falcon and the
Stunning and Brave?
Red Hulk for a moment, because it just came from there. I mean, this is all good, and we'll continue, but I see where he's got to get out of here pretty soon. So
does he?
I got some
All
time.
We'll continue after these
Not for-
messages.
It's not for half an hour. If you want to, we can go on with this and get
Well,
to that.
no.
a little bit
If
later.
you
you mean the
gotta go,
movie's
go
not
ahead.
bad enough to spend a whole half hour telling us how bad it is?
Let's.
Anyway,
I want
hold on a
to.
second.
I want to talk about this because I tell you what, they went to Mardi Gras, right? Those are pictures of them at the Mardi Gras, and yet, I don't see.
There's no Mardi Gras on the ride.
There's no Mardi Gras representation in the ride. When you come to the end of the ride, that's not a Mardi Gras scene. If it was, it wouldn't be Disney appropriate because we know what happens at the Mardi Gras, right? There's this kind of thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
So but it's I mean, it's just funny, this whole DEI stories matter stuff, and then to make it worse, to add insult to injury, they put Avery Island in the queue. And remind everybody, oh, by the way, this whole thing was built on the backs of slaves. It's hilarious. It's a horrible ride that's down all the time. I mean,
it's the triple threat of terrible.
And by the way, Vash, I'm sure you looked around the new site. Have you seen all the little hidden gems in the site where this stuff is really there, but it's just behind? It's like if they went back in the closet, but it's all still really there. In the new site, that talks about how
You're talking about the DEI stuff.
I'm talking about all the DEI stuff, all the stories matter stuff. It's all they wanted to do is like, you know what? Oh, there's a bunch of people that voted for Trump that might look at the site, so let's save face and we're just going to hide it all for a little while.
Yeah,
they may think they only need to hide it for about 4 years, but I have a feeling that the movement that we've seen recently is going to last a little bit more than 4.
You just reminded me of something. I'm going to go ahead and on Disney Plus right now, and I'm going to look at one of my favorite films, Dumbo, and I'm going to see if it pops up. Then we say, aha, it's still there.
The disclaimer.
Yep, the disclaimer. This horrible disclaimer. Here.
Yeah, I did that too. It's still the full disclaimer. Is still there. It's the whole the part that ticks me off more than anything else is it was wrong then and it's wrong now. And I'm like, who the heck are you to judge what's wrong for me? I don't want somebody else doing my thinking for me. That really ticks me off.
Well, okay, fine. You're more upset with that part. I'm more upset with the wrong then part.
Yeah.
Because that's the part that really, really pissed me off. I'm just like, Mike, you mean to tell me that Walt Disney, the greatest entertainer that ever was, decided to purposely be mean to people?
Yeah,
and everyone else did that.
That's what offends me more than anything too, is that right there. And second to that is
offensive.
Telling me what I should and shouldn't think about, like these are just classic stories. And like you're the ones interjecting all this crap into it. It wasn't even never a thought in my mind as a child, until you're
And it's a
Was there a
10-second
trigger?
shaming fest. You know, it's just like I'm going on there and watching any of these classics and many more that are not listed on here. You know, and just like, and I want to watch this. I want to have some more escapism. I want to use them for what they were designed to be, and I have to go through a 10-second shaming thing, which only serves to enrage me throughout the entire experience. And also, and I need to point this out with this too, is that most people, the other thing, wrong then, wrong now. Okay, so Ron, here's your wrong now thing. Stereotypes are not wrong. Stereotypes are not racist. They've never been racist. The reason why they were developed in the first place is because certain cultural groups, even cultural groups that I'm a part of and if you're a part of, have certain tendencies, have certain mannerisms, have certain ways of dressing and talking, and that's what culture is. It's just just because it's a caricature of some point does not mean that it is evil or racist. So I can't stand that line of thought.
And I agree 100%. What bothers me is like, they're not straight across the board with all of their stories on this, because I looked for the trigger warning on Strange World about how there many cultures throughout our entire history believe that certain types of relationships between those of the same gender are wrong. They were wrong then and they're wrong now. I didn't see that trigger warning on Strange World, and yet it's depicted in the movie. Hey, what about that? See, in other words, they're not equal. They're not equivalent. There's somebody out there who is pissed off at somebody else, and they're putting that trigger warning on this. None of that should happen. Not for entertainment, and certainly not for Disney. It's so everything anti-Walt, and I
think that it's even more insidious than that, because I think that the insidious nature of this is actually it's actually apathetical. It's somebody who doesn't really care at all about this, who doesn't even care about the racial stereotypes or any of that stuff. It's just oh God, I believe that I'm going to use this phrase even though I hate it. It's a grift. It's just like they're just doing this to further their own careers. Meanwhile, they're destroying the entire fabric of our society while doing that. So
yeah.
Bob, I want to go ahead and get your take on this right now. But before I do that, let me go ahead and set you up just a little bit here, because we have an update to the story, as Lou alluded to. Here we go. From Deadline, dissent grows at Disney over perceived, quote, capitulation. Sorry.
I read this. It was so disgusting. So disgusting. Go ahead. Go.
DEI initiatives diminish. This by Dominic Patton over here, February 13, 2025. At Deadline, recent bends by Disney related to a court battle and diversity programs that appeared to appease President Donald Trump and the MAGA crowd has left the home of the self-described happiest place on earth not so joyful for some staff. The moves the moves at Disney come amid a hard push. Sorry about that, guys. I do apologize. By the new Trump administration to end DEI initiatives. In addition to defunding and banning such programs in the federal government, there have been widespread actions by Trump and his team against media companies, including Trump's now $20 billion lawsuit against CBS and the FCC launching an investigation into Comcast's policies to end, quote, the scourge of DEI. Quote, it's like Chapek on steroids, one Mouse House insider exclaimed, a nod to the parental rights and education bill at Florida stumble.
The writer here is so disgustingly biased. It's so transparent.
I can definitely see your point here. By Disney's short-term ex-CEO Bob Chapek, after the now Bob Iger-run media giant unveiled shifts this week in its much-touted diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. In a memo to global staff Tuesday, Disney HR chief Sonia Coleman, not even their DEI chief, asserted that the changes and other related moves were intended to line up with the self-declared, quote, business goals and company values. Bob, I want to hear from you. Is the company changing? Is the company softening? Or are they just trying to skirt the law here?
Well, so here's the thing. Working in human resources for many, many years, I can tell you that they're going to try to comply with whatever laws and regulations they have to. And they will start if there's a mandate or, there's something happening, whether it's in the state, or the capital, they're going to try to abide by that because they need to. However, they will still try to hide things. And this is what I'm wondering right now, because clearly in that previous article on that Park Place, it's stating that they are still keeping diversity as a skill. Diversity is not a skill. Diversity is a thing, right? So the thing is, we all come from diverse backgrounds, and those diverse backgrounds, we pick up those skills, but diversity is not a skill. All right. So that's what kills me about this whole thing. So they may still have that, and that can be, if they want to keep that for bonuses, they can actually keep that for bonuses, and it's not going to affect them as a company with the government or anything like that. However, sure, Trump comes out with certain mandates and or executive orders, and they need to start following them, then obviously they're going to bend the knee and they're going to do what they need to do to follow. Just like every other company will do in the state as well. It blows me away because we constantly have these things going over and over and over, So for example, the last company that I worked for, they were very, big on diversity, but as soon, and I should say, 2 companies ago, they were bought out. And as soon as they were bought out by this new company, the new company said, "Oh, DI is so great. We got to do this. We got to do that." And soon it was like, "Well, you got to put your pronouns in your email." No, I don't need to do that. I'm not going to do that. We don't have to. They thought it was very, very important. And then what happened was we had a lot of people who, were a part of the DEI group that were saying, "Oh, well, that person's not doing it, so we need to get them on board." It was really, really annoying and whatnot. It got to the point where it was so bad, especially during COVID, the company wasn't even running, effectively. And so they decided to keep their ways, and what they ended up doing? Laying off about 1,500 employees because they went down the wrong path. And next thing you know, they're not making money. No one wants to deal with them because of all the wokeness and DEI stuff. And now they are just laying off tons of people. So I'm not going to name the company or anything like that, but I will tell you that it affects everyone. And look, I have no problems with diversity. Diversity is great, but DEI in diversity is not needed, and the company is going to bend their knee to do what they can to make it look like they're not doing it. They may still have it, but I'll tell you what's going to happen is that you said, "Oh, well, the diversity person didn't even say anything about this." Nope, it comes from HR. HR is always going to be in charge of the diversity person. They're going to come out first, and the corporate HR person is going to say what's going to happen, and they'll relay it to the diversity person, and eventually they will follow it, and it'll be communicated out through the company that way. But I will always tell you that typically Disney or HR always comes from the top, and all the mandates come from them, and then it gets carried down to the other departments like diversity.
I'd like to mention something here.
Please.
What President Trump and company have done is said we will not have DEI in the federal government, period. And they have encouraged, and a lot of state governments had already done it, to get rid of it in universities that are state-sponsored or government-sponsored or paid for by the federal government. To the degree that that could work down to elimination of grants to police departments or schools or whatever, sure, the federal government can do that. The federal government is not empowered, to tell a private company that they can't do this. Right. So this idea that it's going to come from the feds as, "Oh, well, we had to," will be part of their excuse for doing it.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the state government is concerned, I will only point out that in a poll just recently released, the leading candidate for governor of the state of California amongst everybody who could possibly be mentioned is, are you ready? Anybody know? Kamala Harris.
What?
So if you think California is suddenly magically going to change, you got another thing coming.
Well,
and so, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And these people are when you said, well, for 4 years anyway, and then, but these people, they're not even going to acknowledge that the 4 years happened. They're not going to acknowledge in their own private little fantasy world, this is all swell. And so they will try and keep it if they can. Now, if individual employees feel they've been discriminated against because of this and file lawsuits to that effect, just like Gina Carano did, that's a different kettle of fish. So we'll see.
See, I'm going to disagree with you, Lou, just a little bit here, because even the executive order points this out. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed a historic executive order that protects the civil rights of all Americans and expands individual opportunity by terminating radical DEI preferencing in federal contracting and directing federal agencies to relentlessly combat private sector discrimination. It enforces longstanding federal statutes and faithfully advances the Constitution's promise of colorblind equality before the law. See, I think the federal government could necessarily go after private corporations through lawsuits, not necessarily.
It's discrimination.
They're not going to go after.
They're going to do it.
They're just going to not spend money there. They're going to cut off the contracts. If you want to live without private support,
so that's not going to do anything for them. No, this is a violation of someone's civil rights to be discriminated against based off of race and sex. So yeah, there is a legal precedent where they even without this EO where you can't you're not allowed to do this. I mean, we have equal protection under the law when you're dealing with hiring practices. Now they can go ahead and they can get shady about it, and they can go ahead and they can skirt around, and it can be very difficult to prove. But no, what they are doing, even though it's a private company, is illegal. When you discriminate against a person because they're male or white or whatever it is that they're or Asian for that matter, yes, yeah, that is
illegal. To the degree that it's civil versus criminal, we will find out in the Gina Carano case.
That's a good point.
This whole change of atmosphere has made that case 10 times more important than it ever was before.
Yes,
Right.
Absolutely agree. Go ahead, Erika.
No, I just listening to everybody. Yeah, on the one hand, I can see where, it's testy with the federal government coming in and mandating this, but then on the flip side, it's like, okay, well, it's illegal. It's unconstitutional. So Trump really does have, I think on this situation, Trump is in the right. I mean, but it boils down to who's going to report and whistleblow when these incidences, keep occurring of this kind of DEI discrimination. And that's where these whistleblowers will come forward. They'll come forward to Film Threat or Pro. We'll be hearing, through insiders, what's really going on behind scenes, despite their best effort on paper to make it look like they've scaled back or gotten rid of DEI. You're not going to get rid of the ideology. It's just rooted in these people, in their minds, in their hearts, and they live and breathe it like a religion. So I don't believe it's really going anywhere. I just think it's not going to be as out in the open in front of your face and basically lectured to you and put into training classes over it. It's not going to be like in your face, but there's going to be a subtle cultural, it'll still be there culturally. It's already been established. It's already there.
I can tell you,
take it away, it's just it being right in your face.
One of the things they're trying to do is they're trying to appease their employees on one hand. And if you look at the pages, you'll see what I mean. They're trying to say, oh, no, we're going to protect all of the diversity among our employees and this and that and the other. But they're also trying to save face with the public and say, well, we're not really doing all this DEI stuff, but we are really doing it. It's very, very difficult for the company to accomplish the goals that they have because there are this company probably has more DEI hires than any other company out there, and it's a very, very difficult thing to okay. So for example, a few years ago when they put out that they change the Disney look, you can have tattoos all over your body, you can have long hair and a beard if you're a guy, but you can also still dress as a girl and call yourself Sharon on stage. That's not going to go away because it's how do you scale that back? And and problem with that is that the public sees it. When the public sees it, they don't want any part of it. And you could go to Disney a couple times and go, okay, I don't remember that being there before, but like the fourth or fifth time, you're going to go, okay, this is getting to be too much. And at the same time, when you have Disney World physically crumbling, and yet you've got these cast members that you're trying to appease the way they live their lifestyle, it just doesn't say good things to the public. It doesn't tell the public that the guest is the most important thing to the company, as it should. And the guest isn't the most important thing to this company. The customers are not the most important thing to this company anymore.
It's the people that are on the screen right now, which is a direct inversion of every single business practice that has ever existed. You know, the people that are on screen right now, they are indoctrinated to believe that they are the most important thing, that they are the center of the universe, and that everything else is secondary to that, including things like their own schedules and everything. Just like I need to take a personal day for this. No. This is not how you run a business. Yeah, you're right, Ron.
No, and remember too, there was a survey out there by the White Rasmussen, May 2024. 71% just want Disney to return to family-friendly entertainment. Please, that's all we want.
That's the only statistic that has any hope in it. Of anything that's come out in the last like 5 or 6 years, this is the only thing that's a bright spot.
I will not disagree with that. I know we have to see Ron off, but I kind of want to see whether or not did Disney hold up its end of the bargain when it came to family-friendly entertainment. Ron, did Captain America, Stunning and Brave, do it for you at the theater, or was it a dud? Please.
You know, I went to see this Falcon movie, and well, it was, you know, this movie is really convoluted. It has some moments in it that are good. I'm not gonna diss the entire movie. It's not the worst thing that I've ever seen on a screen. I can tell you that my personal opinion is I truly believe they should have saved this for a sequel Disney Plus show. They really could have done this as a Disney Plus show as a sequel to The Falcon and Winter Soldier.
That show wasn't that good though.
Exactly.
Can't do it at this expense.
Nobody really liked it.
It costs too much to do it that way.
Well, but that's the problem. Its show wasn't that good, and yet they would put the sequel to that show that was not that good out as a movie is very, very telling. This show is trying to pay off some things that should have been paid off in the MCU 10 years ago, and I'm not kidding you. Like I'm literally 10 years ago, this thing is paying off some things that should have been paid off in around the year 2015. And it's
that far back?
This goes yes, things that should have been. I'm talking about things from like the early MCU. From 2008 that should have been paid off by the year 2015, which was, by the way, 7 years after the MCU started, and they're getting around to that. And the thing is, you're going, unless you were just driven into the MCU and you're like, I mean, you're still super fanning it, which I don't think very many people are.
No.
You're not even going to remember these things. You're going to be like, wait, what? What? I don't get it. Like, there are so many points of this movie that people are like, I don't get. There's people that are going to show up in this movie and go, wait, when did Sam Wilson become Captain America? Why is he? And by the way, Anthony Mackie is fine in this movie. He does the job he's supposed to do as an actor.
Yeah, he's not a bad actor.
Given the script that he's given, I'm not going to say anything bad about Anthony Mackie. It doesn't feel like his movie. It feels like pretty much Harrison Ford's movie, to be honest with you. It really does. And it's really convoluted. It's so weird. There's so like the very fact that a big point of this movie has to do with something that happened in the Eternals, and they're bringing that. It's a major plot point. It's actually the whole movie centers around the end of the Eternals, which is also really, really weird.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't Cosmic Rewind as well have something to do with the Eternals, like that giant Titan thing?
Yeah,
not as much as this.
Okay,
not as much as this movie has to do with the Eternals, but even more so. It's just so. Again, this is a movie I would not recommend anybody go see it at the movie theater. If you really want to see it, or if you're into the MCU and you want that part of the story as a puzzle piece filled in for you, just wait till they throw it on Disney Plus. There's no urgency to this whatsoever. There's literally no urgency because some of the things in it are like 15 years overdue. It's so stupid. It brings back things like the raft from 2016's Captain America: Civil War. I mean, that was what, 9 years ago. There were moments of this movie I almost fell asleep, and I'm pretty wide awake going to the theater at 2:00 in the afternoon. I almost fell asleep because there are long lulls in this movie. The pacing is horrible. It is all over the place. It's literally like, okay, it's just, there's elements of it I like. There's a character who has my last name, Bradley, so there's that. I've no relation to him whatsoever. But it's so.
1 out of 10, Ron. 1 out of 10. What do you got?
3 to 4, and that's I'm being very, very kind when I give it a 3 to 4. And
it's a Tiana's Bayou Adventure out of 10.
Oh no! Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Wow, rare.
The more that I'm on Tiana's Bayou Adventure, I have to get it. It gets into the negatives.
Lower.
But as far as Brave New World is concerned, it's not. It's definitely a new world. This has nothing to do anymore with the universe that we live in, and it's one of the biggest problems with the MCU. The way they ended Endgame. With the blip, ever since then, that is almost impossible to write your way out of, and that's another problem with this movie, is that it brings elements in from before the blip that don't make sense because of the blip, and you're like, none of this makes, it just doesn't make sense. It's very convoluted, very hard to watch. If you're drunk, it might be okay. If you were
so
really,
like Tiana's
really
Bayou
drunk.
Adventure.
Oh, jeez.
It probably is funny if the number of people going on TBA that are probably actually not just drunk but are a little bit more. I think those people are probably having the best time with that, especially during the Rainforest Cafe section of the ride.
I know.
There's literally that section of the ride where you splash down. You're like, whoa! I'm in the middle of Rainforest Cafe. There's that frog I know.
The colors.
I'm literally like, I get to that part of the ride and I'm like, somebody's gonna yell it, volcano, and then they're gonna bring out the dessert. I'm like, yay! No, I definitely don't recommend, especially don't take your family to go see this. There's so many better things to go enjoy your money on. Take your kid to an arcade, buy him the $20 card, buy him a piece of pizza, and you'll have a way better time than you will at this movie. How about that?
Fair enough. Fair enough. And thank you so much for delivering your first review right out of the theater. That is pretty awesome. Ron, where can the people find you on this great, big, beautiful wide web? There you go. How it works.
I am at right there. Look at that. Follow the Bradley's fun on pretty much everything. YouTube.
And you're Captain America.
And I'm Captain America in that picture with much shorter hair than I have now. And now I look like Fat Thor. So... and I missed Vash. I wish Vash would have made it out to MegaCon.
So the whole Sour Grapes review was Shield envy. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Is it? No, not at all. Not at all. No, look. I'll be honest with you. The one thing that I could say about this movie that's good is I could, in all fairness, buy Sam Wilson as Captain America, as a new version of Captain America, because he got the shield from Steve. I'm okay with that part of it. I don't really care about that part. It's just the story that he's stuck in and what he has to do in the story sucks. It's like that's the part that I have issues with, is like they went so far as to hand the shield off to Sam Wilson, and then they gave him this story. And it's just sad. And some of the fighting in the beginning of it, when you compare it, the problem is there's a scene in the beginning, they set it up. You remember the scene in the beginning of the Winter Soldier 2014 when they land Captain on the boat and he does that whole fight on the boat, and it's like he's just kicking butt. Oh my gosh, awesome. That scene is one of the best scenes in the MCU. They try to pull something like that off at the very beginning of this movie, and you can tell it's supposed to be an homage to that, and it does not work at all. And you're like, okay, his probably needs to dice up his fighting skills a bit. In all fairness, at one point in time, he does make fun of himself for not taking the super soldier serum. So, yeah, he's kind of aware that maybe he should have.
See, but the question becomes, was that scene there from the start? Or was it one of the reshoots where they said, well, you know what would juice this up if we did a copy of that scene from Winter Soldier?
This is a jigsaw puzzle that you can tell. When you're watching this movie, that's one huge thing you can tell is that this is a jigsaw puzzle that the editors were scrambling with probably to the very last minute, trying to figure out how the hell they're going to fit this scene in there. There's so much of it that does not make any sense whatsoever. And it's a Frankenstein's monster of a movie.
Well, there you go. That is not so great. But hey, if you're wanting fun from your content, follow the Bradley's fun. There you go. Because you won't find all the fun
on YouTube. On we do a show called The Daily Dish every morning, and then I'm on Pro. I'm here. I'm everywhere. I'm trying to get at least one other video per day, and I'm trying to get that to where I can amp it up to 2 videos per day, at least on commentary, on reviews, things like this on the parks. And sometimes I'm live streaming less in the parks, and that is very specifically because of a lot of the stuff that you've talked about on this show and what's going on in the parks. It's unfortunately not as enjoyable as it used to be in the past to go to the parks and live stream there. So I wish that weren't the case.
If people don't know, Ron has also been contributing B-roll to the various channels, and you can find B-roll that Ron has filmed on That Park Plays videos. I've incorporated it many times. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Show of hands in the audience who knows what B-roll is.
I know.
I do, but you got to explain your terms to the great unwashed, and that's not a negative.
Sorry, do apologize. Additional footage that plays over some of the commentary that we provide on our various channels.
There we go.
It's the roll that Barry eats for breakfast every morning. He's got his Barry roll. He calls it the B roll. Yum yum. But
Barry, short time. What are you talking about?
Remember that experience that you talked about that with the 6 or 7 cast member thing where they was like surprise it all on the same day. It's the unfortunateness of that. That was at Disneyland, but it's getting to be a little bit more of the culture, and it's just kind of creeping in slowly over time. But it's felt, and I don't like it. Like I want that magical feeling when I walk into Disney.
Yeah,
I want cool popcorn buckets at every turn. I want. I mean, I love the popcorn buckets. I'm addicted to those things.
It's definitely happening a lot more. Yeah, it's really unfortunate too because while I haven't had a lot of bad experiences since that time, I've had a lot of people in my chat as well as people who go to the park tell me I had a bad experience today. This is what happened. I'm like, oh, really? And I'm like, ooh, sorry.
Yeah, it's a lot more common.
A lot more. Yeah, it's really
it used to be so rare, and now it's like it's close to like 30%.
And which is
what's really bad. What's bad about bad experiences people have is this. For many, many, many years, as some of you know, I also had a sort of a part-time career as a restaurant and food and wine and travel reviewer. And when I would review a restaurant that I thought was really special, and a few months later, somebody'd say, I read that and I went there and here's what happened to me and it wasn't very good. The first question I'd ask is, did you complain and what did they do about it? And everybody can have an off day. Everybody can have a problem. Everybody can have a sewage leak. Maybe not 2 or 3 or 12 in a week, but all I'm saying is the question is, what do they do about it? When that power outage shut the whole damn park down the other day, not only did they not come on the PA and say, ladies and gentlemen, we're really sorry, but in return, everybody gets a free Dole Whip, or we'll give you a pass for a future reentry after 6 o'clock, or something. Yeah. And I'd like to know if somebody actually went to town hall and said, hey, what are you going to do about this? If they were even offered anything, or if anybody had the authority to give them something. And that's the difference. That's the difference.
Well,
My last
I do,
video on my
Erica.
channel-
I do know good food and ghostwriting cookbooks and hosting things with famous celebrity chefs. You know, the usual guys: Jacques Pepin, Julia Child. All those
I
kind of
like to eat good food.
Yeah.
He knows food. Lou knows food. Lou knows food better than just about
Yeah.
anybody
All right,
else.
I gotta bug out. My last
And I do
video, by the
too.
way,
I do too. I'm
on-
sorry to say.
was
But,
on
Well, thank you,
the
Lou.
subject of
Thank you,
what-
Ron,
done,
for
so.
both coming along.
Lou,
Everybody else.
Bye, Ron. Bye, Lou.
we'll see you.
Okay,
later.
doke.
Ron.
See you,
Bye, Lou.
Ron. And goodbye, everybody.
See you
Thank
later,
you,
guys.
Nice to each
Been fun.
other. Bye bye.
Very much appreciate it. And we will see Lou for Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you, actually.
Sunday.
This Sunday.
At 2.
Mm-hmm. At 2 p.m.
Boop
Eastern.
boop be
It's
doo.
going to be
All right,
absolutely
bye-bye.
fantastic. Thank you, sir. And
I wanted to
somebody's
bring
been
up-
waiting in the wings for just a little while now. I really apologize. Nolan Thunder.
Nolan.
What's going
I
on?
was
there,
nervous
good sir?
having to fill Ron's shoes. Now I got to fill the shoes of him and Lou. Thanks, guys.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to be leaning on you
You're
for
more than
both.
capable, buddy. You're more than capable. That's fine.
I'll be
Walt
like
Disney
that
World commentary?
character. I'll be like that
And Hollywood
character in the sitcoms. By the time they write off a popular character, and then I'll be that character that comes like
No.
the 7th season of a show. And
You are not Scrappy Doo. Don't worry. You're not.
oh, thank God.
Oh boy! Well, we should be having a grand old time here. Speaking of, Bob, this is going to be your neck of the woods right here. You've heard a little something about the 70th anniversary, right? You've heard about this thing
lots
where
to talk about on this.
lots to talk about.
What are you
indeed.
guys all
lots
on
to talk
about?
about?
Just kidding.
Oh,
So-
I have some opinions.
Sure.
we will share these opinions
all
for
do.
sure.
We'll get there.
Now, if you remember, back at D23 Expo, Ultimate Fan Event, whatever, we didn't get much in the way of new items coming, at least in the short term anyway. We got some indications that we might be getting Coco and Avatar and all those kind of things. But the real grand big announcement was the 70th anniversary. And yet we didn't get any clarification on what we were actually getting as part of that 70th anniversary. We've gotten a little bit more information, stuff like a New World of Color show, the return of a fireworks show that everybody loves. Paint the Night is returning, so all good things. But again, it's a little lackluster when you compare to previous events like the 50th or the 60th anniversary. Now we know that they've repositioned some of these things that were on the schedule, like the Walt Disney Audio-Animatronic, and maybe a change to a beloved attraction to July 17th in order to, have it be closely tied to the 70th anniversary. I'm guessing because, well, they have a lack of things going on, and maybe there's been a little bit of a delay for the Walt Disney Audio-Animatronic itself.
They do
It
this
does appear
every
that.
time. Every time they do this.
Yes.
Every single.
What are you talking about,
celebration
Josh?
they
They don't do it every time.
He was going to debut May 16th at the
Right.
Disneyland Resort in the Opera House. Now it's July 17th, so that's very, very interesting. But with the inclusion of Walt Disney, apparently they will be having a big exhibit where they'll have, I think, more than 30 items from the Walt Disney Family Museum on display in the Opera House, along with a introductory film with, I believe, Richard Sherman. And
The guy from the Seahawks?
yes,
No,
yeah,
Nolan.
the cornerback. Why Richard Sherman, part of the the Legion of Boom? No, not that Richard Sherman. Nolan, come on, no, the one and only Richard Sherman, who actually wrote the songs that you love from the Disney theme parks, like Tiki Room and It's a Small World. In fact, that's the portion that we want to get into, but we're gonna hold off on it just for now, guys. I want to talk about Walt Disney and the inclusion of this audio-animatronic with this exhibit. What are you guys' thoughts on all of this?
Well, I feel really bad for Bob Iger, when it's going to be, probably about 2 a.m. in the morning, long day at the office, and he hears a slight knock on his door, and it's just the Walt Disney animatronic just slowly creeping and crawling into his office for revenge on ever coming up with this idea.
We did actually, we made fun of this a little bit. We said that, hey, this could be instead of like Walt, it could be Walt E, right? Like, you know, Wally, for example. And somebody from that Park Place Network, just the guys are so fast.
Oh my god.
There you go, the Walty audio animatronic. That will stay in your nightmares forever. But
that's an actual leaked photo, right? I mean, that is, right?
yes.
Yes, it's gonna have 6 fingers and everything.
right from the hands of Tom Fitzgerald himself. No, but there have been Imagineers in the past who have been very against the idea of incorporating Walt in any way. That includes the partner statue, most definitely in audio animatronic form. Now that we've gotten away from that, now we have this exhibit, now a preview center that I guess will be showing off artwork and so forth, and their construction project progress for some of their projects they have for the Disneyland Resort. I mean, are you guys excited for this?
No, not really.
Curious.
I've spent my entire life studying this man. Like almost literally my entire life, 43 years now. And I'm so unenthused and so unplussed about this. I mean, for one thing, the reason why because you think, well, look, they did it with Lincoln, and Lincoln's a far more important historical figure. Yeah, but no one is alive today who knew what Lincoln looked like, and we don't even have footage of him. Yeah. We have tons of stuff for Walt Disney. We know everything about this man, or at least most of the stuff. So like, yeah, this is not going to go over well. I mean, they can go ahead and they can make the animatronic as lifelike as you want, but this is one of the most recognizable people on the planet for the last century. I mean, that you can't do this. You can't do this successfully at all. I mean, and then to cobble together his script, and also it goes against his whole entire ethos, because Walt Disney made Disneyland the star. He was not the star of that. There was no way that he could he wouldn't agree to doing this. He wouldn't agree to be on stage.
And wasn't it his daughter that literally said the line, "Don't turn dad into a robot"?
That was a granddaughter, but but everyone else is on the same page about that. The entire family would denounce this, except for the super woke great grandchildren
who barely even knew him or never knew him. It makes no sense.
Correct.
Yes, that's the thing is that if they don't do this perfectly, which I don't have a lot of faith in the Imagineers right now to do this perfectly, hence Tiana's Body Adventure. Anyhow, my whole thing is, like you guys said, most of the family doesn't want it. He wouldn't have wanted it. I was kind of surprised when they said that they were going to do it, because I was like, I thought they were going to bow out and not do it after all. And then they go, yep, we're going to go ahead and do it. And the thing is, if they don't do it perfectly, it's going to be ripped to shreds, and a lot of people are going to be really upset. So, and here's the other thing. 2 weeks ago, I heard from a friend, he told me, hey, this is being delayed. I'm like, what do you mean it's being delayed? I haven't heard anything yet. And he's like, it's being delayed. Just watch. You're going to hear about it soon. Ooh. Sure enough, it was delayed. I didn't say anything because I didn't know if it was credible or not. And not that I don't trust my friend, but I didn't have a credible source from my friend to follow up on. And so the fact that it's being delayed is, well, I got to call my friend now and tell him, hey, spot on for you. But this is
Let me call him first.
Classic Disney now. No, it's not classic. It's current Disney now, where it's like, oh, we can just delay this. It's part of the 70th anniversary. They thought they would have more time to do this. It makes me worry. Is it not ready? Are they having problems or issues? Why are they delaying it till the 17th? They've been planning the 16th of May for all this time, and now suddenly they're delaying it. Why are they delaying it? That's what I want.
I think it's honestly, it's the same playbook that they've been using for like 15, 20 years now, where they don't have anything ready for the actual celebration, so they hold things onto it. I don't think it's actually a technical issue with it. I agree. It's just for them to go ahead and delay. So it's like, look, it's part of our 70th anniversary, which I have a very controversial opinion about that I'm sure that I'm going to alienate half of you with, but we'll say that for later. Yeah. Go on.
Well, I'll say this: if this thing malfunctions, especially with everybody that has a camera in their pocket, basically, it's going to be memed to death.
And it will malfunction. It's going to break. Sure. That's 100% certain.
It's going to be A-posing or whatever those figures are.
See if they're going to let you take a phone or gimbal in there, because currently it depends on the cast member, of course, but most of the time they tell you can't record or film inside Lincoln.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They're still gonna do it.
I've been
I've
kicked
done
out
it.
plenty of times. So
I want to know what's going to happen the moment this thing messes up and gets all lockjawed or whatever. And I want a counter of how many YouTube thumbnails that image is going to be on when that happens.
A locked jaw. Could you imagine that? Oh man.
the thing that worries me is that, you know, we have some amazing, you know, animatronics, right, from Disney. Lincoln is, you know, even the newest version, Lincoln is very well done. However, my concern, my issue is with the type of animatronic they're using for Walt Disney is supposed to be very similar to what they have in Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Now, Tiana's Bayou Adventure is in a water ride, so okay, there's that thing, and so that's affecting the animatronics, obviously. But I'm just worried that they have not perfected the animatronics to not break down. And look how many animatronics are constantly breaking down. I mean, we just had 4, now went down to 1, now we're back to 4 again at Disneyland. It's like, how many times are we going to have to deal with these animatronics being broken down? It's ridiculous. This is just 1 with Walt. So he breaks down. It's like, that's going to be embarrassing. And that's going to, and then it won't open up. And then here's another, you know, show that people won't be able to go see because it's broken down.
Well, I'm 100% sure that they are that they've created 2 of them.
I'm sure they have too.
They've already created 2 of them. But the problem with it is, I mean, I know that the water is an element of the malfunctions for the Tiana's Bayou, whatever. But at the same time, it's also these new electrical servos that they're using,
it's not
because they can stop on a dime at any particular point, which actually, you know, you on one end you would think, okay, this frees me up, I can do as much animation as I want, but there's actually a lot of drawbacks for it at the same time, because it does
can they
stop
stop on a dime? Because I thought I read something where they can't stop on a dime, so they kind of have to like wind down to a neutral position.
Well, that's what you had to do with the pneumatic ones, and that's the reason why you would have more fluid, more reserved poses for a lot of the animatronics. Even the A100s, which had the capacitance circuits inside of them,
Right.
they would still have them gently move, because they knew that they had to repeat these things constantly, because with every particular gesture that they're doing, you have to think about it being replicated over time, and then how it's wearing down the actual system. But with these electrical ones, it's a kind of like the same thing where they're doing with all of these films that are way too CG heavy. Where they have way too many options to choose from, and they think that they can do everything. But as you see with things like, you know, like the latest, the Ant-Man, the last one, where it just ended up being in a fantasy world the entire time. There's no grounding in reality, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing as this. It's just like, you know, no one likes to hear this, because everyone's just like, everything should be free. It should be open. It should be blue sky. It should be wonderful. And they're like, art thrives on restriction. Art thrives on restriction.
It does.
So you have to have some kind of restrictions. You can't be just like, oh, this audio animatronic can do everything that a person can do and more. No.
I wanted to go ahead and just inform people about compliance, right? And what we were talking about with the A1000 figures, if I'm not mistaken.
100.
The 100s, yeah. When an animatronic moves, right? What you don't want the entire figure to move with like a broad hand gesture, right? You want it to be smooth. That's kind of what the compliance component was all about with those A100 figures. So yeah, I mean, if they do stop on a dime, again, that's a tremendous amount of force that you have to stop in order to achieve that effect. And again, does that run for 72 hours straight? I don't quite know if it does.
Another way of articulating it too is that if they are making a broad gesture with their arm, the capacitance, what it does is that instead of it shaking the whole entire body, the body will actually absorb the impact. So the body will sway like a natural human would. So when we stretch out our arm dramatically, there is some movement in our torso. Well, with the original figures, they didn't do that. So they were very jerky, and they caused a lot of problems. So the capacitance allows it to move in a more natural way, but it also absorbs the impact of any kind of gesture. So.
There you go. Indeed. we'll be watching what happens with Walt Disney, and it'll all be happening very, very quickly here. I'm sure there'll be maybe some videos put out on this. We'll be covering it all here on That Park Place. But there's a second side to this, because not only did they announce that Walt Disney was going to be making his official debut in the parks July 17th, but that they would be modifying an attraction, that being It's a Small World. Oh boy, this is the really controversial one right here. Let's see if I have a better... Yes, I do. New verse for It's a Small World attraction to debut at Disneyland on July 17th. This is Block Mickey here, February 12th, 2025. Design has announced that it will debut a new verse to the iconic It's a Small World attraction. The new verse will be added to the ride in honor of the late legendary composer Richard M. Sherman. This new verse is Sherman's final contribution to Disney, and here's the announcement. The line goes, Mother Earth unites us in heart and mind, and the love we give makes us mankind through our vast, wondrous land. When we stand hand in hand, it's a small world after all.
You didn't read that correctly. You didn't read that correctly.
Yeah, you didn't read it correctly. It's humankind.
Oh, do I have to sing song?
Yes, yes.
Oh, and you
Language?
need to hear what it really sounds like. Go.
Mother Earth unites us in heart and mind, and the love we give makes us humankind through our vast, wondrous land. When we stand hand in hand, it's a small world after all. So, something like that.
Or more appropriately, because of that one word, it just became Justin Trudeau's It's a Small World.
Oh, yes, our favorite governor. This is very interesting, right? So,
are you referring to when they changed our national anthem?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was.
We could go that way too.
That was a thing up here.
Bear is from Canada, if anybody doesn't know. Okay, so this ride has been playing nonstop since, well, except if you encounter like 412 days of closure, but that's a whole other story. It has been playing since 1966 in Disneyland, okay? And it predates even Disneyland because, well, it was first installed for the 1964-65 World's Fair, sponsored by Pepsi-Cola and Children of the World. UNICEF. Okay, this is an iconic song. These recordings have been playing unaltered since that entire time.
Hold on.
Oh.
There was a brief period... brief in quotation marks. I think it was from 1992 to, I don't know the exact date. I'm trying to look for it now. From 1992 to 2002, so 10 years, where they changed it to the John Debney score that was used for Paris. So they changed the one in California to also have that same score.
Oh, I did not actually realize that. That's very interesting. Also, too, they have modified it a little bit for the inclusion of characters, but the same track still there.
They did that as well.
Would you happen to know how long they did that for by chance?
10 years.
10 years.
Really?
From 92
I think that they did it in the Magic Kingdom as well. That was part of an entire movement when they opened Disneyland Paris.
Yes,
they created so much more music and background scores and everything at the same time. So they actually transposed that into the Magic Kingdom and Disneyland wherever they could put it. They put they put those inside of there. So yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I know that we went back to the original 64 recordings at the Magic Kingdom in 2005 for the Happiest Celebration on Earth, which was really Disneyland's, but we co-opted it. So
right? Yeah.
Guys, what do we think about this?
So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to go first here. Vash, do you mind scrolling back down to that verse there for a second? So in regards to the new line, it says that this was his last contribution to Disney. Now, do they mean this in the sense of he made this specifically for them to put in one day before he passed away? Or are they referring to this was something he would compose, it never made the cut, and he rejected it, and bish bosh, it's out? Which in that case, I would have a major issue with this, because if the creator and the art vision that he had was not supposed to be in the ride in the first place, it's like releasing a song by Michael Jackson. Instead of releasing it as, oh, this is one of his lost songs, you put it as, this is how he always intended Thriller to be. Like, I just can't help but feel that's a little bit disrespectful.
Here's the thing. If you read the article on the blog, it actually states that this is they actually bring this up from a film called The Last Verse, which was created for the 60th anniversary. We're now going to the 70th. I don't know that anyone's ever seen this, but this little short film was created for the 60th anniversary, and it unveils the new verse written by legendary composer Richard M. Sherman in his final Disney contribution. So it's something that he had done a long time ago and had been planning for a while.
Well, hold on.
No?
Was it for the Park 60th or was it for Small World 60th?
This is the
Small
song
World.
60th.
Okay, so that would have been last year.
Sorry,
Yeah,
that was
last year.
Yeah. Never mind. Sorry,
but at the same time, I think that the problem that I have with this is just like, why is this on a press release? Why is this news? I mean, because yeah, okay, fine. You put in another song verse, so now you're going to have to re-record the whole thing, and now you're just going to waste everyone's time gilding yet another lily inside of the park, or over gilding a lily, or platinum coating a gilded lily already, whatever you want to look at it that way. But it's just like this is a nothing. This is a nothing story. I mean, what they're trying to do really is they're trying to ingratiate themselves into the nostalgia. It's basically nostalgia bait, but which of course normally I'm for, but this is just like no, it's another verse of a song. I mean, it's not like you found, it's not like you found the final reel of King Kong here. I mean, no, this is just ridiculous. I mean, yeah, just.
Well, you know what? Someone wrote in the chat, does this bring value? And to me, it doesn't really bring value at all.
Exactly. They shouldn't do it at all.
If it doesn't bring value, then why are we doing it? I'll tell you why I think we're doing this, right? Because they don't have anything really planned for the 70th anniversary. And everyone's been saying, that's it. You've got a bunch of stuff returning and one new animatronic, and that's what you're doing. And it's like, and I've said this all along the last several months, I'm hoping that they're going to unveil some more information and they're going to be doing some more things. And it feels like they're just trying to appease people. Oh, well, you know what? We're going to have this little movie play, in the Main Street Cinema, and then we're going to incorporate the new, lyric, the verse, into, It's a Small World. And then we're going to have new experiences at the Main Street Opera House by having some stuff that you can normally see the Walt Disney Family Museum, but we're going to bring it down here so you can see it, and we're going to have the new animatronic there, obviously. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Josh. What's up?
No, I was cutting you off, so I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but at the same time, yeah, it's just to flesh it out. My thing about this is, though, with the 70th that they teased before, I don't really think that they should be celebrating 70th at all. I mean, I agree. I mean, like when you get to a certain point, I think that parks are a little bit like people. It's just like, and once you get up there in years, you stop celebrating your birthday every single year, and you stop, and then eventually it gets to a part like when they did they shouldn't celebrate the 70th. They should celebrate the 75th. That's fine. And then you can go ahead and you can do the 100th after that time. I'm not saying that you can't have cool things that come inside the park. Go ahead and bring back Paint the Night, bring back all of the things that you want to do, bring back new things. That would be good too. But you don't need to tie it up to this whole entire 70th thing. Like, you just did 65 5 years ago. Every single 5 years, these whole entire marketing campaigns.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, get over it. Come on now. It's 70 years old. I mean, it's wonderful that it's there, but 70 is nothing.
It takes a lot of the luster out of these anniversaries, because they become meaningless if you do them every 5 years. Like, who cares?
True.
Well, if you think about it, right? I mean, they did. It's funny, they didn't make a huge deal out of the 40th, but the 45th seemed bigger, and then they did something a little big for the 46th. And I was like, what are you guys doing? Now, the 50th anniversary, that was amazing. 60th anniversary, that was amazing. But the 70th doesn't feel amazing. So I'm with Josh. Can we just do 75 years anniversary, and then maybe we'll head on to 90 and then 100? Sure, let's do that. But it just doesn't feel like we should be doing something for the 70th. It doesn't feel like it's genuine. It feels like it's forced. They're just doing it so they can say they did it. And even all the marketing and everything is just not really impressive. I mean, the new outfits that the characters have, I can't stand the one Donald has, and Mickey and Minnie's not that bad. But still, I'm just like, ho hum, who cares? No big deal.
Guys, I was excited. I was gonna get a taco truck and everything for the celebration, but you guys just had to kill it.
Whatever.
Greer, you wanted to
man.
add something to the
Oh,
small
so
conversation?
about the small world thing. I guess my take is a little controversial. The lyric itself, I'm fine with. I don't really care. Like, it's cute. It's a new verse. I'm a purist when it comes to the audio at the parks. So when
Yes, same.
they changed over the auction scene, I was less mad about the change to the scene itself than I was about losing Paul Frees's audio for that scene.
Agreed.
So Small World, I mean, for people that don't know, after Splash Mountain, Small World's my favorite. It's my favorite. I've obsessed about this attraction since I was a little kid. And that finale audio, particularly the Disneyland version, it's fantastic. It's probably top 2 or 3 theme park audio finale, theme park finale audio. So to lose that, if that's what's happening, I'm going to be very, very upset.
Well, there is a way that you can do this. I mean, like with today's technology, I mean, the only thing
but I'm a little concerned about how that will.
Yeah, well, my only concern with that is that the only reference that you would have just on a technical level, in order to make them audio so that it actually mimics exactly what they did in the 1964 recording, you have to have more. They say that you can do it with 3 seconds. That's a myth. You actually need more like 5 or 6 minutes of a person's speech in order to go ahead and replicate it with any words that you want. And I don't think that the actual recording, because it's literally only a minute long, it is going to be long enough for them to actually replicate that.
I don't think it is either.
So maybe in like 10 years from now when they've actually perfected that technology, but not right now with it. So they are going to have to do a new recording of that. But I do think it would just be the. I mean, as a silver lining for that for you, it would probably just be the chorus, the choir itself, the children's choir, but everything else can remain entirely identical. I see no reason for them to change anything else in that.
I'd hope so. And it's also interesting, like this is the third verse. The second verse isn't even in the finale. So are they going to add that too, or
like? I dislike this so much because, man, those other. I agree with you.
Oh God, I just
thought about
that.
Audio recordings.
Yeah.
Are so iconic.
I would have been fine if they added the second verse in. I thought that would have been okay because they have the original recording for that they could put in. But for the third verse, because obviously this is 60 years later, we can't use the same voices unless they go the AI route, and we don't know how accurate that's going to sound.
Erika, I'll go ahead and have you close off this topic for us.
Oh, everyone's making really good points. I have a soft spot for the Sherman Brothers because they brought so many of the Disney classic music that we know, even down to like Mary Poppins. I do like that they're paying some kind of homage to him. I think it'd be better served later down the road, like at a 75th anniversary, and then it gives them time to get their crap together and actually plan something nice, and then one thing Disney's missing, we haven't seen in years, is remember the days when they used to really play up what was coming with specials on TV, like remember the Splash Mountain before they debuted it, they had a whole special with what's his face? Ernest. Was it Ernest Ride Splash Mountain?
Yeah.
Jim Varney.
They haven't done that in so long, and it would be nice to see some of that old stuff come back. And I get the argument with like the tech stuff, with the original voices from the 60s versus how would they implement that short verse, without it throwing off the song. Those are really good, valid points. And unless they could come up with another way to honor him and this last contribution, because if it was really his writing, and it can be confirmed that he wanted this, I think his wishes should be honored. I mean,
That's valid, yeah.
Why not? I just wouldn't know how I draw a blank for the company when it comes to like how would you do that other than like an exhibit, and that wouldn't last long.
I saw an idea floating around that they could have done it, or they could do it in the exit tunnel, like the tunnel you're going after past the finale, but I don't think that's the route you're gonna go.
But
that would work. I wouldn't mind that.
You don't need that pesky morality. Let's make Walt an animatronic. What's stopping us, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's about fulfilling wishes or anything. They need something to throw on park blog post, and
yeah, it's just the way they're going about it is, it's cheap. It cheapens the name, it cheapens the brand, and it's devaluing. And you can tell they're just throwing it in there last minute. Because they have essentially nothing, and it shows. And those of us who know Disney and have grown up with them and love them, and we're not dumb to the history of Walt. It's kind of offensive to us purists, these Disney fans here that are your generational fans, and you've successfully alienated us, from you.
It is sad where the Walt Disney Company is gone, and that's the thing. If I would have heard this announcement maybe 20 years ago, maybe I'd have more trust in them and faith in them to bring this to life.
Oh, for sure.
Right now, I don't trust them.
I mean, we saw what they did at Haunted Mansion, right? So,
indeed.
What Erika was saying, how awesome would it be if you had, like, back in the day, you had one of those, "Hi, I'm Michael Eisner, CEO of the Walt Disney Company." And I know everyone likes to meme on them, but those were charming, and those were a great way to introduce new concepts. And people put a lot of trust in, and it was a great showcase of, because you got to cut out a bunch of, the corporate jargon and the investor talk. You actually got to connect a little bit with your actual fans and kind of see like what the image they wanted this company to be without, you're trying to sell a vacation, but you're not trying to appease like 4 different stockholders in the main process. If you're watching like a shareholder meeting, like you could actually focus on, okay, this is our driving advertisement for our fans. And they haven't really done anything with this, correct me if I'm wrong here, that really shows like, can we trust you to even modify any of these beloved attractions? Because we know darn well Bob Iger will take pride in not wearing, like, say, a Disney tie, and he sure as heck will not be in like one of these documentary videos unless he's just talking about how amazing of storytellers they are on a broader scale. It's going to push his own political power. So yeah, I think it's a huge trust issue, and I don't trust them to do it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And Eisner, I know, had his faults, but you're right. There was a charm to those. Even the Sunday specials when they would play made for TV Disney movie on Sundays. We watched those as a family. I looked forward to those, and they would always play sometimes past clips of Walt, with the Florida Project or whatever, and those were always a nice touch. I wish Disney would figure out a way to bring that back. And they're, again, bringing Walt back to Disney, but they're
or just Michael. Can we have a Michael? Not Michael, obviously, but obviously a Michael would be there, because I'm 1 degree separated from him in like 5 or 6 different directions, and normally when people are separated from a company, everyone is more than willing to go ahead and dish the dirt on them and everything. And I've had behind the scenes conversations with people where they know that I'm not going to say anything to anyone about it. I never have heard a single bad word about Michael Eisner. And and every single story that I've ever heard about him was so enormously charming. If you don't mind, just one little one right here is that when they were opening up the studios, and that's the Disney MGM Studios, that was his first baby, and he was there basically all the time during construction and during the opening. And I have a couple friends who opened attractions at the time. and they were talking, and they had been there for like 2 or 3 days at a span. The whole just that one little bitty park right at the time was just right there. They were staying there probably like 2 or 3 days, and they decided to go ahead and ask Michael's kids. It's just like, so how do you like the park? And they said, well, we don't know. We haven't seen it yet. And just like, what do you mean you haven't seen it? You've been here for 3 days. Well, the actual fact is just like, well, no, we don't have any time to see it because Dad keeps on making us pick up trash off the street. because Michael carried on the Walt Disney tradition, and every single person who's ever been a cast member knows this. Everyone works custodial. That is when they ask you in all of our trainings, when they ask you in every single one of the things, who's here from attractions, who's here from merchandise, who's here in marketing, just like, and everyone would raise their hand, and then they would say, okay, who's here in custodial, and everyone's hands better raise up. And that's what Walt did. And he picked up trash off the street just like everyone else. And Michael did it too. And he made his children do it. And so that's just one story about how much he really was very concerned about being Walt Disney 2.0. And that's what really this company needs, is it needs another one. Just exactly like him. I mean, he was more wonderful than we deserved at the time, and I'm still so sorry that I ever supported that ridiculous Save Disney campaign, because it was just a ploy from Iger. So yeah. Michael, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I love you.
What is so sickening?
Michael
oh, good.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say Michael had he was proud of Walt, and he wanted to emulate him, but at the same time recognizing he wasn't him. So he understood that he was carrying a torch, and not trying to change it, but to carry it. And Iger just doesn't get it. He does not understand.
And he doesn't care to get it either.
He doesn't care. Yeah.
Michael understood that he was a steward.
Narcissist. So.
He was a steward, that he knew that he was the steward of the brand, and that carries enormous responsibility, exactly. But also humility at the same time. And Iger has neither.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And it took us 20 years or so on a more major scale. I'm sure like plenty of us here, are really into, theme park history and stuff like that, was able to identify, and we all have our personal opinions, but identify his credit sooner. But when Vash had that picture up, one of the articles that came up was in just the third row on Google was, why do people hate Michael Eisner? It's like, his reputation has been completely slandered, and we know how well Bob is buddy with the news media, at least in the past, before some certain things he's said more recently here. And you have to ask, like, this dude did a lot of good in his time, and I'm not going to act like he's a saint. I'm not going to act like I've ever met him. Maybe I'll meet him and I'd want to slap the dude in the face. I don't know. But the reality is that he contributed a lot of good that made the exact Disney image that people want Disney to be today. He made that a reality. And it is kind of a shame to me that while we are pretty good at recognizing his faults, as we should be, it is a shame that it seems like, are we going to have to just wait till the day he passes on for people to finally come out of the woodwork and be like, yeah, he was a pretty good CEO? Or is his reputation just going to be forever tarnished with bad moves he made at the end? It's kind of a shame to me.
I think history is a lot kinder to him now than it was closer to that Save Disney campaign. And I think history will be kinder to him than it ever will be to Iger.
Yeah.
Yes. And that would be historical justice with that. The fact of the matter is, we can talk about Walt Disney. We can talk about a lot of the people that came after him, and they are, of course, extraordinarily important, but let's not miss words here. If any of us is a Disney fan today or yesterday, at this point in history, it is because of Michael Eisner. It is not Correct. Because of Walt Disney. It is Michael Eisner that is 100% responsible for this, because without him, it's just 2 little parks, one of them in Orlando and one of them in California, and maybe 1 or 2 things in really cutesy movies, and some not so good ones toward the end of the 70s, and then we're done. But Michael Eisner really transformed it in a way that we really get, and yet he was able to carry on. He wasn't afraid of the past. He did a lot of things that were very, very different for the company. Things like Pleasure Island and all of these different venues that he was doing at the same time. There was things that he was definitely branching out, but he managed to always toe the company line by honoring the ethos of Walt Disney at the same time as branching out. And we all love things like Touchstone Films and long for that label to come back, and just it goes on and on and on about how much he did. And what is it that we really complained about at the time? What was that huge fight? What was that thing? Oh yeah, he was skittish about making theme park investments for 5 years, and there were some direct-to-video sequels. It wasn't like he went theatrical with those direct-to-video.
It's nothing compared to now.
So
true. Oh man, well, it's just one of those things. You never know how good you have it until it's gone.
And people neglect and don't understand how hard it truly is to carry on the torch. Now, Bob Iger doesn't even understand the example of a torch because the company is about him and a stepping stone as opposed to carrying on a mantle. Ironic with the mantle strategy thing we've talked about with Marvel. But, it's really hard because look at what happened with Star Wars with George Lucas. The minute that franchise left that man's creation, now Star Wars is basically a dead brand. Whereas you have to look at Disney yeah, people are upset with Disney. A lot of people are mad. A lot of people have banned Disney out of their house for some decisions they've made. But the reality is there's still a spark and a passion, begrudgingly, that they still want to see these brands return. They want to go to Disney World to experience these trips. And while it is true that, say, a Star Wars does still have, a deep little fire still burning for a lot of people who's given up on it and don't care no more. But the reality is Disney. And the work to keep this brand relevant as long as Eisner did, that is admirable and something to be respected.
That's the 71% in the survey.
Yes, that is the 71% in that survey. And that's why I think the Disney company has been forced to, recede just a little bit, go back to what we used to love about them, but we'll see how far that extends. Speaking of things that we love about them and lovable and loving, Sweethearts Night. Bob, this is your segment right here. He wanted to go ahead and talk about his experiences at Sweetheart Night at Disneyland. This is an extra pay event that they are selling, kind of like FanFest nights, but a whole lot less and a whole lot more expensive. I think it's double the price, right? It's about $159 for the night that you went.
$149 for the nights I went, actually.
Okay.
Still. And by the way, Vash graciously was in on my stream, so thank you for watching. And absolutely. I will tell you that I was expecting to have a lot of fun that night, and I did. And my mods were great, and so were all of my viewers and everything. But it was a little different this year because I went when it was raining, and it's raining tonight, and they're having a Sweethearts event. And the thing is that they did things that I guess I wasn't expecting them to do. So the first thing is, and right now you're showing this is my live stream when we were at the Royal Ball. Royal Ball, normally they let people down on the floor to dance with the characters, and they teach everyone how to dance, for the Royal Ball as well. Well, you couldn't do that this year because of all the rain. Now, the weird thing was there wasn't any rain or water on the floor, but I guess because they were afraid that people were going to track it in, they did not let them on the actual dance floor area, which is right in front of the stage. So that didn't happen. But then it was everything that didn't happen that night that I paid a lot of money for that was really disappointing. So, for example, the cavalcade. Here we go. So there were 4. That's it. Just 4 couples on the cavalcade. This is it. I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? So we had Flynn, and obviously we had Rapunzel there, and then of course we had Anna and her man, and on the other side we had Mulan, and up above on the other side we had Meg, and we had Hercules. So the thing is that was it. Where's Mickey and Minnie? No, they're not out. Did they come out?
Tiana?
What? No Tiana. All right. And by the way, that was the cavalcade. Just went by. It went all the way down to the castle, around and came back, so that if you stayed on the same side of the street, you would see the other characters. It was so underwhelming. It was incredible. And I'm standing there with my umbrella going, wait, that's it? And look, everyone's just kind of taken off, and no one really stayed for them to come back. In fact, everyone starts dissipating. The street becomes very, very empty after this, if you stay long enough on the stream. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. But you know what? I'm going to go see some of the characters. Well, the characters weren't out. One of the characters I was dying to see, quote unquote, was Constance Hatchaway, right? I mean, she looked great. I'd seen all the videos and pictures of her, and she wasn't there. So there she is right there. But they wouldn't bring her out.
Do they still have her?
Right? No,
they do. They actually have
still
her
have
holding
her
the candelabra now.
Yeah, they do. But my whole point was, it's Sweethearts Night. She's out for this event, except for it's raining tonight, so they're not. And every single character that was supposed to be outside was not there, and they had no meet and greets. The only people they kept outside, which they were still covered, were their entertainers. So you got to see the Royal Ball here. You got to see, the piano player over at Tiana's Palace. You got to see the mariachi band, which was great. They were wonderful over at Rancho del Zocalo. But here I paid all this money for meet and greets. No one was doing photo ops because they were outside in the rain. So a lot of people didn't want to do those, which that was the best time to actually do photo ops. But the thing was, a lot of people, and this was, while this looked cute, it really wasn't that great. I was really disappointed with this Royal Ball. And one of my viewers, she was there with her mom, and her mom said, look, I went to City Hall to complain that there's no one out, especially Constance Hatchaway. She's the one that my daughter wants to see. And I thought, well, maybe they'll, say something, offer something. Nope, sorry, just the way it is, rain or shine, no characters. And she was like, really? Like, you're not even offering anything, or you're trying to they just didn't really seem to care. And that's the disappointing thing, is Disney would never be like that. Now, I know rain or shine, there's things that they can and can't do, but you would think that they would go, you know what, it's raining tonight, let's get some cover and put, the character, over this area, maybe close to the Haunted Mansion, or maybe they have her, somewhere under where the Tiana's Palace area is, so that she can do the photo op still. But they didn't bring out any characters. They just said, oh,
that's standard procedure, Bob. That is what they're supposed to do. They have a backup for every single one of these character meet and greets, and they just didn't do it. That's
right.
Yeah.
And that's what it's so disappointing. I feel like they would have done this during the day for the normal public, but for this extra night that you are making people pay an extra price for, and you didn't give them what they were offered. And I was just really disappointed. It just wasn't that exciting or great. I mean, the food was okay. It wasn't that great either. It was just okay. I was just disappointed because I felt like I didn't even get my money's worth. Now, instead, we went on a bunch of rides, and I do history when it comes to my channel, so I'm always showing different videos and whatnot. But everyone's there to watch my Sweethearts Night event that I paid extra money to go to, and we didn't get to experience it. So I was so disappointed. I was like, you know what? I don't even think I would do Sweethearts Night ever again. And much less if it rains. I would be really disappointed if I bought tickets and it rained, because I know that I'm not going to get my money's worth. And that's not the first time. I think when I went to Star Wars last year, it rained, but it wasn't really bad, but they still had characters out. So when this happened, I was like, wait, you didn't make arrangements to have the characters undercover somewhere?
That's weird.
Come on.
And just to illustrate, folks, remember a day at Disneyland, like a regular ticket, right? During the off season, right about now, it ranges anywhere from 104 to all the way to maybe top end 139, something like that. Bob paid for $149 worth of an event. We only got what?
It was 4 hours long.
4 hours?
It's only 4 hours. Wow.
4 hours.
So they let you go in at 6, but the event doesn't start till 9, and it ends at 1 in the morning. So for 4 hours, you got to try to get everything done. And that's my biggest issue about these after dark events. They only give you, I think for Oogie Boogie, they give you 5 hours. That's not even enough. They need to give people more time for the money that they're spending. And the thing is, okay, so you want to get the food, you got to buy it. You know, you want to get the merchandise, you got to buy it. You know, you still have to buy all this extra stuff if you want it, on top of the ticket you already paid, and on top of the $1,749 I already paid for my annual pass. It's like, ay, this is ridiculous.
I feel
that's why events like, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. That's why events like Universal's, Fan Fest night coming up seems so much better than what Disney's offering currently.
And we've covered here on T3PO just the litany of things that they have for FanFest nights. You're going to get the DeLorean going back in time in the actual courthouse square where they filmed the movie back in 1985.
I wish I could go to that.
It's
cool.
absolutely incredible, right? You're going to have all of these characters that are going to be playing the roles of the characters from the film. You're going to have Enchantment of the Sea Dance. You're going to have this Bridge of the Enterprise and this kind of very structured story experience that you're supposed to have there. A couple of anime will be featured. It just goes on and on and on and on and on with what they're going to be featuring there. That's $75 a night for some nights. I think it tops out at like what, 84, 89, something like that. Wow. I mean, it's incomparable to what Disney's offering here. And I was heartbroken for you, Bob, because I was watching the stream. I was like, I cannot believe they did this.
I know you kept commenting every so often, going, "Really, this is it? This is all you're getting?"
Because I was stunned. I mean, it's like there's no value here whatsoever. Why would anybody pay for this? And again, they're trying to entice annual pass holders or magic key holders now, who have a magic key who can go, as long as I can get a reservation, up to 40 days of the year. If you're on the highest tier, why would you ever buy an extra ticketed event for this much to get so little? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
And they don't offer any discounts for these events either, which they really should for annual pass holders.
They should, because who's going to buy, even if you were going Sweethearts Night, right? 2 people, that's $300. Who would ever pay for that, especially a family of 4, to any of these things? It just doesn't really make much sense. Now, one thing I thought they were going to add to a night, that being Star Wars Night, they're actually not. They're actually having it for Seasons of the Force, which is available for people who simply just buy a ticket to Disneyland during that event's run. That being Luke Skywalker at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Now, a lot of people were talking about this and saying, this is the end of the timeline. They're finally doing it. We're finally opening up to, more characters and so forth. Right. No. Never thought that once. And sure enough, that's not at all what they're doing. It's a limited time event for Seasons of the Force, in which they're going to have appearances by Luke Skywalker. They're being really cagey about when he'll actually appear or where. This is the full Disney Parks blog update for all this. They have like 2 lines with Luke Skywalker in this whole thing. They made a big point, though.
Galaxy's Edge is not that green.
No. Well, I think this is part of the projections that they're going to have up there. So, like the water streaming down, I think that's part of the whole
thing. It was supposed to be good. It was supposed to be that green.
Yeah.
Yes. So we heard about projections that were going to be installed for Fire of the Rising Moons, which is basically the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge version of the fireworks show that normally plays for Disneyland nightly. It's a really cool thing. It's pretty awesome because you actually get, if you're, let's say you go to Disneyland 2 days, you can basically see 2 separate fireworks shows within the same park at the alternative times, obviously, because you can't be in 2 places at once. But it's really cool how they utilize existing infrastructure to support this story in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And to add projections to it, well, it's very interesting. But why in the world do we not break away from this timeline? Why can't we just have Luke Skywalker just be there? Why can't we see our classic characters in Star Wars land? Like Darth Vader, Han Solo, Leia?
That's why.
Why do they do this?
Because we want it. Because we want it. Well, I should say that the diehard Star Wars fans want it. I can't. I'm kind of disappointed that they're not going to put in like full on meet and greets for all the characters and just break apart this ridiculous timeline. This is where the whole entire concept where it's just like Imagineering has been touting forever, which I have a dark history about, but I won't share it here, is that story is everything. Well, story itself is not a virtue. So, but I can also say it's just like, it's the thing that I've been saying for years. Just like, character meet and greets do not scale. And I've seen every single, I've seen like 90% of the people who have critiques of Galaxy's Edge. They all say the same thing. It's just like, I want to see the characters there. I'm like, that isn't going to save this land at all. This is totally inadequate. By the way, I think that's a girl. Anyway, after you've been running it several times, I think that's a girl.
Well, you're not the only one who thought that.
Okay, cool.
There's a big old theory out there that it might be.
Yeah, plenty enough times you're going to see that. Yeah, but still, just like, good God, yeah, it's a why. I'm just like, okay, fine. You're just putting out bait for people to come inside of your, war-torn Somalia galactic ghetto here. So go ahead.
And so, can I ask a question about this
ghetto?
That's accurate.
I've never heard that before. That's amazing. Go ahead, Nolan.
That's trademarked, by the way. You have to pay me every single time you say that.
Oh no!
10 cents. Here we
Tell
go.
us how you really feel.
Well, I don't think we're going to top that, but I do have to make a complaint here, because one thing that really bothers me about this video is, so it's actually a really cool concept seeing, Luke in the Return of the Jedi attire with R2, a nice moment with them, probably a lot more chemistry than everything from Bob's show the other day. That seemed like a complete flop. They actually have good connection here. But no, what bothers me about this is the thing where this whole thing originated from, with Luke putting his hand on R2-D2, that came from a scene that was cut. It wasn't, or just a trailer only shot from The Force Awakens, like where you see a cybernetic hand on R2-D2. They're using it like it's this big iconic moment. It's just another reminder of me of like, yeah, we didn't get that in the movie. Kind of sucked. And Disney's using it as like, remember our great legacy here? And it's like, no, you deprived us of our legacy. Get better.
And by the way, I mean, anything that they do in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge really doesn't really move the needle in terms of like social media views or shares or whatever, likes. This really did make a big wave, and part of that was people, I think, seeing this were like, oh, are they finally going to release Star Wars Galaxy's Edge from the timeline, right? That has kind of locked this land down and is preventing a lot of your favorite characters from actually appearing. Remember, though, this version of Luke Skywalker, we did see him in Mandalorian Season 2. And, well, we have Mandalorian or Mandalorian era characters already in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, so they really haven't broken the timeline all that much. They've just kind of expanded out to incorporate a character like this. My favorite version of the character, but it is kind of weird. Like, why not just break this now? I mean, it's clear. This is what people want. This is what people are excited for.
Well, see, Nolan made a point because he's like, well, when Force Awakens, we didn't get that scene, and here they're doing this. Guess what? We're not getting him for Star Wars night. What boggles me the most is last year when they started Fire of the Rising Moons. I was like, oh, this is great. Oh wait, you're not doing this for Star Wars night. What? Why not? You're not doing any fireworks at all for Star Wars night? Okay, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Hey, we're gonna have some new projections, and Luke is coming. Not gonna be there for Star Wars night. Why? I don't get it. I just don't understand why they're not doing things like this. It's like, well, it's gonna be a limited time thing only. It's like the BDX droids. They got rid of them after the Season of the Force. They didn't have them for Star Wars night either. At least I don't remember them coming out for Star Wars night. And it was like, now they're gone. They're going to come back again for the Season of the Force, I'm sure, which is great. But you need this immersive world. I felt like Star Wars night last year, Galaxy's Edge finally felt like an immersive world because there were a lot of characters walking around and it was great. But if you're going to tease Luke Skywalker, bring him into Star Wars night. All right. If you're going to tease, hey, we got these new projections, bring it into, even if it's not fireworks, bring it into Star Wars night. I mean, it makes no sense why you're not going to add these, when you have this event going on, and as well as, the Star Wars nights. It It just
You know,
drives me.
you know what it's like, Bob. It's almost as if and this is totally theoretical. It's almost as if they announced a self-extending lightsaber and then only used it through a paywall.
Oh,
again,
wow.
that's just a fiction.
Now we
That
gotta
never
find it.
happened. But
Whatever happened to
Sounds
that?
familiar. Well, here's
Now
the
we
other
have to
funny
find
thing.
it.
Do you, I don't know if you guys know this, but I go Galaxy's Edge all the time, and it doesn't seem like a lot of people are going there and buying the droids anymore. I mean, you walk in there and it's like I never ever see anyone making a droid. Maybe once every month I go in and I see someone making a droid. Otherwise, people are maybe buying some droid parts and stuff. And then same with the Savi lightsabers. You hardly see anyone really going up there, to go in and buy these lightsabers. And what are they doing for Star Wars Night? Oh, they're doing a hodgepodge of, I think it's all the stuff we can't sell. You can make these really cool new lightsabers and droids with parts that don't technically go together, but we're going to let you put them together. It's like, oh my God.
Yes, they did make a big point about that, by the way.
Yeah, watch this. Where is
this
it?
last part of
There
this.
it is.
This
hand-built lightsabers.
this land.
Galaxy's Edge is just such a failure because, you're talking about the meet and greet characters there, and how awesome, I've said this before, would it be if, there are literally hundreds of Star Wars characters and 50 characters that people would line up for because they're just that popular. You could have them sprinkled in throughout the whole land, but they are so connected to what the setting of the land is. Instead of being an amalgamation of a bunch of different environments in one, it's instead set in an area. And some of you guys might recognize this. I know a while back here, very recently actually, on Toonie Talk TV, on the streams we do, that we were talking about how one of their new writers, one of the new people they brought in for was either Mandalorian, the Rey movie, or whatever 50 million projects that Kathleen Kennedy's greenlit. And he was talking about the scary thing about Star Wars is how it's intimidating because you're bogged down with so much lore. And we were all memeing on it. But that exactly describes Galaxy's Edge because they're bogged down with so much lore. They will not break it. They will not do anything to make this land better. They'll sprinkle in a few things that kind of tiptoe around, but they will not fix it. And no self-propelled lightsaber is going to fix this.
It's so weird because Universal is now on the cusp of doing this not once, not twice, but 3 times with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, right? Thrusting you as a fan into the world of Harry Potter. And it's not bound to any timeline. You just see the characters doing the things that you love to see them do from the films in the settings that were appropriate for them to be in. And that's it, right? I don't understand why we're going, I think, 6 years now with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It would have opened in the summer of 2019 at Disneyland, later at Walt Disney World. Now we're almost, like I said, 6 years. It's going to be the summer of 2025 very soon. Why aren't we breaking this from the timeline? Nobody cares about, thematic consistency in this way. They just want to see their iconic characters. And that's the thing, Bob, even for Star Wars Night, right? You would think that they would load Star Wars Galaxy's Edge up with characters. And maybe they did this previous time.
They did do that last year.
Well,
but still.
But how many?
Here's the reason why this doesn't happen. Is because it's the same thing. This is the real reason why the Star Cruiser sank. Is because of the character interactions. They do not want to pay the budget that's going to be necessary for the labor cost on that. That's the entire reason why they're not going to break this out. Yeah. It has nothing to do with anything else. It has nothing to do with timelines. It has nothing to do with consistency. They don't care about any of that stuff. It's just the fact that they would have to continuously pay money for the people that are there, and they look at labor cost as very, very cheap now. They don't want to spend anything on that. Actually, our entire society doesn't want to spend any money on any labor whatsoever, which is going to incur some massive problems in about 5 or 6 years from now. And I mean every aspect of humanity, but that's an entirely different issue. I've been saying for years, one of my first videos on the WDW Pro Show or any of that Park Place stuff was analyzing Galaxy's Edge. Galaxy's Edge to me is like, I'm like, it's horrible, but it's also like extremely fascinating on a forensic level because I look at it like it's like the world's worst train wreck. It's like it's like Titanic and Hubris and all these things rolled into one. I'm like, this is exactly what you should never do with any part of this medium. This is a corruption of Imagineering on an unimaginable level at every conceivable point, and yet it's very well executed, which means that there are some wonderful skilled craftsmen out there. They just have horrible ideas that are undergirding all of this.
Correct, yeah. And the defense squad still defends it.
They do, and it's really unfortunate. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully they use Luke Skywalker here as a data point where they can just say, hey, you know what, maybe we can justify these labor costs in order to get people back here to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and get people in these shops. But we will see. I wanted to leave you all on a happy note, though, not just with Luke Skywalker, but with what might be coming to Epic Universe. If I can just find my tabs here. Where did I?
No, I know where you're going.
Oh, no.
I
know where you're going with this.
You should know because it is awesome. But I just had to find, like, where's my... Okay, here we go.
I posted about it.
Universal Epic Universe milestone rumor. Park operations takes over next week as phased previews begin. Apparently, this was written February 5th, 2025. If it's next week, that's this week, folks. If operations has taken over for major areas of this park, at least the daytime operations, that is a huge milestone. And we've been seeing some amazing footage come out of Epic Universe right here. This amazing aerial shot from BioReconstruct. Also, to the Kronos lighting up. And don't worry, folks. It's not like that's going to be a static thing. It's going to move as well, as you can see in this footage right here.
Amazing.
And speaking of things that are moving and things that are people are excited about seeing right here, it's the Burning Blade. It's the one. It's the only. It's a little dart.
There it is.
Robotic figure right here. It is so cute. It is so incredible. It's amazing. How can you not love this little guy? He is adorable. And we're going to break it all down on how this works in just a second, but I kind of want to get your reactions to him.
Love it. Every time I see something new from Epic Universe, I'm like, now what are they going to do? What are they going to do next to impress me? And here they go with the little toothless robot. Oh my gosh, that thing is so cool.
He is so adorable, so cute.
Erika's having heart palpitations there. She's like, oh my god, look at that.
Yes. You know what I'm really curious about?
It's so cute. Those little doughy eyes, like, oh my gosh.
I wonder though. West 2 had to be tipped off about this. That's what fascinates me. I'm like, they had to have Universal had to have made a call to them. It's just like, by the way, we're doing this thing in our parking lot. You probably want to go ahead and check this out. This out. Yeah.
Yes, they did, and Wesh wasn't the only one. We have some footage from Telemundo as well, and this footage they actually point to the helicopter that's actually recording and have see right there, and they have. The little guy actually makes some faces to him.
His head, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That thing is so cool.
So,
I mean,
go ahead.
It's I know I'm just overjoyed with joy here, but the thing is that it's amazing because I just don't know why Disney doesn't start looking at this and going, oh crap, we are in trouble. I want to go to Epic Universe so bad. It's crazy. And anyone know how to get tickets? But seriously, I think it's amazing to go and experience this. They're trying to make, like we were just talking about Galaxy's Edge, how it doesn't feel like a full land. Now, I will tell you, I've enjoyed seeing some of the characters lately that they've been showing. It's not just been Rey and Chewbacca, thankfully.
True.
Because they've had Boba Fett and the Mandalorian and whatnot. And so that's been nice. But when you see how immersive they're trying to make these lands and what they're trying to do, I just hope they're overwhelmingly successful so that maybe Disney will take a clue and say, yeah, we kind of need to get back to our roots and do some of these things too.
There's
it looks
so
absolutely
much
extraordinary.
interaction, the movement, that
impressed.
thing you showed at the entrance there earlier, Vash. Like everything is just so immersive. It's alive. It moves. Disney can't even move dirt. What the heck?
Right? They can't even
good
move
point.
dirt. They can talk about moving dirt, but they don't do it.
That's a good
They
point.
can pour dirt on ground and pretend to move it.
That's true. That's true. Yes,
So-
that's a fair
So
point.
Vash, I have a question for you since you're
Yes.
smart and everything. Well, Joshua, you're really
Yes.
smart too.
It's how the
I want to
competition is fun.
know. I want to know how. Can you
How it
walk
works?
us through the technology, what they're if you know, and how
Yes,
they're
I do.
doing this? And is
Yeah.
okay, goody. I want to hear it.
It's
Oh,
the dark
absolutely.
arts.
So
Well, I think that the rear is a person, and then they are articulated arms. They might be doing them themselves, and then you have a robotic head. That's
well,
what I think is
that's-
happening.
That's interesting, Joshua, because that's actually how they used to do the old walk around puppet version of this very figure right here. It wasn't Dart; it was actually Toothless himself, but worked in a very similar manner. But we know that it is controlled. Two ways we know this. One, we have somebody here with what looks like a video game controller controlling at least aspects of it. So to your point, Joshua, there could be some involvement from a human being on this. Don't think there is, though. I think we pretty much set as a community on what this might actually be.
Yep.
And it is a Boston Dynamics robot. So Boston Dynamics showed this video off here of their latest model, I believe like 6 months ago or so. You can see a lot of the same movements utilized by Epic Universe for this Dart Dragon utilized here. We're pretty sure it's a Boston Dynamics
Yeah,
robot here
it
that's
looks
been
very
maybe
close
a bit
to it.
enlarged and has a
So-
skin on it.
So my next question, what is the durability of these, like wear and tear, and the probability of them breaking down? Because that's kind
Don't
of a
pull
concern
it.
of mine.
Don't pull that thread.
Don't pull the thread.
Yeah, don't pull
You were
that.
happy 5 seconds ago. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the good thing about this, because if this was all being done internally, I would have much less faith, let's say, that they can actually maintain this and keep this up, because it is likely being done by a third party like these Boston Dynamics robots here. I'm pretty sure, and this is like the a variant of their very first version. It's been worked on.
Yeah,
I'm
they've been
pretty sure
working
it's
on
going to be pretty reliable, only because it's their reputation on the line, and it's already been field tested.
That's true.
So that's the encouraging thing about this. But Brer,
And they would
No, I
have more
agree with
than
you.
one, right, to rotate them?
yes,
Oh, for sure.
So we have heard that there are
I
going to be
would hope.
multiple dragons featured, and this is Dart. This isn't even Toothless. So we know
Oh, I
that
thought it was
Toothless.
Toothless.
No, it's the
Oh, okay.
his
I've
child.
only seen the first movie, and it's been a long time, so I've kind
Yeah,
of
me too.
forgotten.
Me too.
Yeah, so Toothless, I think the third one meets another dragon that's very similar to him but white, and that's why he's got the white tips on there in order to
This one's
evoke.
freaking cute. I like this one.
So cute. I love him so much. But if we examine the Epic Universe art, which I should have transferred to myself, and I'm not really sure why I didn't do that. We can see. Let me see if I have it here.
So is this like AI
Hang on.
intelligence? Like it's motion censored. It knows, like if you say, "Can I have a hug?" or "Can I shake your?" Does it shake hands? I mean, like, can you give it commands and it responds? Or I'm just like, how is the meet and greet supposed to? I understand you can do the whole hand thing, and he, like nudges your hand, but aside from that, like, what's that gonna look like? The meet and greet.
Erika just
Um,
wants to know if she could take it home with her. That's the.
Yes. Yeah. How
Good luck
autonomous
sneaking
are
that
we
past
really
security.
talking about here? So we can see this piece of concept art showing actual Toothless here. There you go. And what that's supposed to look like, and the scale difference between what we saw with Dart and what we saw and what we're going to see with this. So I believe it's going to be completely controlled by a team member on site via one of those controllers right there, just to ensure that it doesn't behave in a manner that is not fully 100% controlled. I think that's going to be what they're going to go with. But we are hearing not only these kind of autonomous robots that you see right there, we also see that they're going to be implementing audio animatronic figures like within the architecture and so forth, dragons on top of, you know, various pieces of architecture in audio animatronic form, and flying drones in the form of dragons have already been spotted above Isle of Burke. So like we're getting the whole thing.
I was just curious
Imagine
what.
Good.
Yeah, I was just curious about like the details, what like a child and a parent could expect approaching this animatronic and the interaction, you know.
I would say
that's what I'm curious.
So it will obviously have more
Like
functionality than push the trash can. But you could
I was just gonna say, can they, because you know how characters usually they hug the kids, and the kids love getting hugs from their favorite characters. So that's kind of, aside from the, you know, nudging your hand with his, you know, face.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd hug.
Will kids be able to, you know, get a hug from, or be able to hug it? Obviously, it can't really hug you, but you know what? But if the child could at least say, "Can I hug you?" and maybe he'll lower his head, and then they'll kind of embrace the face, you know, a little bit, give him a little squeeze. It's just, as a parent or grandparent, that's what's going through my head, is what is this going to look like? You know,
I would sincerely hope that they've already made that calculation, because you're going to have to do that. I mean, I have family that was in entertainment, and just like, you have to anticipate hugs and other forms of contact, but definitely hugs. So
well, I was about to ask, how long is it going to be till a kid tries to take a ride on this thing? How's that going to go?
Well, that's what their attendants are there for.
Man.
That's what the attendant.
That would be funny.
Up, Johnny. That'll up. Go on a ride.
I'm not gonna say it.
Oh man. I don't. So yeah, attendants are definitely going to be in use. You can actually see in that concept art how Hiccup plays that role, right, in order to control Toothless and the interaction with that. I think you are going to be able to touch this little one here.
Oh, for sure.
As far as a full embrace, not sure about that particular aspect of it, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to touch this audio animatronic right here, because they even make note of it in various pieces of concept art and so forth. Kids interacting with these dragons. So we'll have to see just the extent by which they allow that. They are going to be having tests runs of the various lands and experiences and attractions very, very soon with actual guests. That will be very, very cool. I think we should be here about that maybe the next couple of months. So it's a story to track, Erika. But this is incredibly exciting. It is awesome to see.
Well, y'all got homework to do for me, because I can't go yet. So you people here that have your tickets reserved better get every inch of video you could possibly get, and then send to me so I can live vicariously.
Nolan, need that B-roll. Told you about that.
I'm in the same boat with you. I don't have a ticket yet.
You have them reserved,
Your cameras and your phones better be like so full of data. It says beep, 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 beep.
I feel like Erika is just going to show up on the day, and she's going to be like the film director, you know, with that snazzy hat. Got the thing. It's like, all right, everybody, you on this Harry Potter section, you at Nintendo, let's go.
Yep.
We got till dawn.
Let's go.
That's funny.
And by the way, you missed that purse on that little over to your left. Can you just, you know, turn to the left a little bit here? Because there was that little purse I just saw you walk right by it.
We need multiple pans over in this area right here. You're not getting the full details. We need, 2x, 5x. Let's go.
4 drones. It better be on my desk by 7 o'clock tonight. Let's go, buddy. Chop, chop.
And I thought I had, I guess I can't find it right now, but we were talking about Mack rides as well, and the the Stardust Racers coaster. Sorry, I lost track of that. BioReconstruct did have some video footage of, I think, the mist effect that will be accompanying this attraction. It's really, really cool. I didn't know there was one either, and I saw it. I was like, oh, that's really cool, and I can't find it for whatever reason. That's weird. But I'll keep looking. Anyway, a whole lot of fun. Epic Universe is going to be absolutely incredible. It's going to be amazing. Like we said before, it opens May 22nd. Some people have tickets, some people don't. But I know I am planning to go this year to Epic Universe. Probably
What
in the
time
winter.
of year?
Probably in the winter.
Okay.
Because
Very smart. Very smart.
yeah, I just can't do the summers in Florida
Yeah.
anymore.
I'm trying to decide
November,
between fall and
November
winter.
would be fine. Actually, the best time is like
Ooh.
right now. Right now is so.
Yeah, probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, this is the best time. Go before all the people are there and sneak in.
This time next year, Nolan. Next year.
Sneak in and let's see if we can get on anything. Very, very good. Well, that just about concludes our show right now. I want to go ahead and give everybody shout outs and make sure that everybody feels welcome to this whole party. Let's see. Let's start with Bob, Fairplace 28, with an amazing YouTube channel that provides live streams like the ones you just saw on this channel, actually, for Sweethearts Night and many, many more. Bob, what do you got going on at Fairplace 28?
So actually, believe it or not, I am not going to be streaming for a week because it's my wife's birthday on Monday and we're going away for the weekend to the mountains. So it's going to be nice because it's raining and snowing right now. So hopefully we're going to have a great weekend getaway, and I will be back next Wednesday to hit the park and do another live stream. I may try to, if the wife will let me, sneak in the camera to do some live video of us tubing down the mountain. That would be kind of cool. But if I don't get a chance to do so, I will be streaming next week. However, definitely come hang out with me at the Park Streamers Hangout. We just had an amazing show on Monday where we had Imagineer Chris Merritt, and we also had Eric Linksweiler and Albert Rodriguez. They're the Knots historians who created this amazing
Phenomenal
book called
show.
Knots Fairy
Phenomenal
Tales.
stream.
Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, Bear. And Dark Arts, Dark Ride Arts. Thank you so much for the kudos. I saw it in the chat earlier. It was an amazing show. It's that first one that you see right there. So go check it out. And then I've been writing some really cool blog stuff on our parkstreamers.com. So go check that out as well. And thanks so much for the support. And guys, I'm almost ready to hit 6,000. So I think in the next week or so or two, we'll be celebrating that.
I'm going to go ahead and link that particular show in the chat right here.
Oh, thank you.
So that people can actually see it right there.
Yeah.
That is a link to the actual episode itself. Very, very good stuff. Very, very cool stuff. Awesome stuff. That book is amazing. I have it. I should have brought it with me. But
you have it too?
Oh, it's a
I do.
great book, yeah.
As soon as I saw the Mice Chat, so Mice Chat, what is it? What is his name? Oh, Dusty Sage. When he was doing his walkthrough Knott's Berry Farm with, I believe it was Christopher, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not sure. Yes, when he was walking through the park there and talking about it, I was like, oh, instant buy. So I got online and bought it immediately and had shipped in before your show, so I know what you guys were referring to. Very, very cool. Awesome stuff. Cannot wait. Incredible. But Park Streamers Hangout and I believe, Tom F has Fairplace 28 in the chat as well. So give his channels a great subscribe.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Vash.
Absolutely. Erika from Erika and Raph, where can we find you?
Oh, you can find us at Erika-Raph. And right now we're still going to the dry spell. So I'm just stream hopping between here and Pro and Lorena's streams, hanging out with some awesome.
Don't come to Berry Place 20, okay? Just kidding.
I feel bad, Barry, because there's so many of you guys, and I miss so many of the streams. And my phone doesn't or usually YouTube doesn't notify me like when, all these everyone that I am following, and it's so hard. You only got so many hours in a day and days in a week.
No
That's
problem.
But
My wife says the same thing
yeah.
about my show. Oh, sorry.
But you can find us there. We got some videos up on life in Germany, life as military DOD here, and that's kind of it. Yeah, that's it right now.
It's a cool channel. Go check it out, guys.
Absolutely, go check it out. Go check it out. Give it a subscribe.
200.
She has some amazing videos on there. So go ahead and get over there. Go ahead and support her. She's amazing. She's awesome. But You know, if there was anybody more awesome, Erika, if it was even possible, it might be Nolan. I'm not sure about that, but he does have a cool name. Nolan Thunder.
The Echo.
How can we find her?
Better than
Rolling
Erika?
with my home.
Just kidding.
So yeah, if you
no, it's
like
cool.
media mysteries, internet mysteries, paranormal media in general, and especially if you like old retro video games, I talk about a lot of video game mysteries throughout the years in my little documentary series I do called Lost in the Files. It's a mix of B-movie, horror, comedy, and documentary for stuff you might remember when you were younger or maybe your kids played. I've been yapping since the dawn of time about doing a video on this game
Mario
right here
64.
Yes, that may have had an experimental AI, artificial intelligence, built into the game that personalized every copy, and it might be corrupted and evil and trying to kill you. But anyways, that video is in development. I've been recording lines for it, and I promise you it's going to come out. But if in the meantime, I have a whole playlist on my channel of other kinds of Mario and PlayStation, all kinds of mysteries. So if that intrigues you, please check out my channel at Nolan Thunder. And if I am not rambling enough here, if you want to hear more of my takes on some things in a little bit here, Toonie Talk TV is going to be starting at 8 o'clock p.m. I'm going to be on that show with Marvin the Movie Monster, Kevin Apollo, Trish, a lot of amazing people you might know from the many, many different kinds of streams that Erika has probably been on at this point. And it's going to be a good time. We'll be covering the news. We're going to talk about Beau DeMaio a little bit, as well as some of the Harry Potter news about who might be playing Dumbledore. So if that intrigues you, please check it out on Toonie Town TV on YouTube.
Absolutely. You know what? Yeah, I think Erika's cooler. Sorry, Nolan. I do apologize. No.
I don't blame you there. I don't blame you there.
I have to
She's there,
disagree.
Boots.
I think Nolan is cooler.
No, that's so kind. That's so.
Thank you.
Don't pity him. No, joking. you're good. You're good. Thank you so much, guys. Seriously, for coming on. It's freaking awesome. And one thing that is really, really awesome is Brer Oswald coming on the channel. It is so cool to have you. Brer, where can the people find you on this
Right here.
web? Yes. Oh, right there. Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. I was trying to copy it for the chat. Right there.
Is that Banjo?
Yes, that is Banjo.
I like that.
Thank you.
Brer's awesome. His commentary on X is so very good. He's one of my favorite follows of all time. Just
Thank
some
you very
great
much.
analysis and some great commentary on all the things affecting theme parks today. I know you're going to be starting maybe a show soon. Do we have any details on that?
It might be a little while from now.
Okay.
Just I have some personal stuff going on for now, but it's
Sure.
it's still in the works. Planning it a little bit. I had a friend reach out to me saying, "When are we going to start the podcast?" So I think we gotta.
You see, you're already getting requests from people.
But in the meantime, anyone feel free to join my Discord. It's right up there on my Twitter, and feel free to follow if you're interested. And if not, I'm not offended.
Wait, the link to the Discord right in there. There you go, chat. Go ahead and join Brer Oswald's Discord there and have some fun on the Brer side. I love it. So that is great. Thank you so much, Brer Oswald, for coming on. And last but certainly very much not least, it is Joshua Harris, amazing Disney historian, just awesome stuff. He, of course, no, I don't. Okay, yes,
I'll take over the
okay.
screen for right now. You can continue. Go ahead.
Oh boy, sorry about that. Yeah, okay, here we go. E82, Epcot Legacy, the one and only amazing site. Where can people find you, Joshua? What do you got planning? Work it up.
I am creating the Disney content that you wish to consume. So can you see my screen right now?
Oh, I can. Oh, here we go. Boom. Right there.
Okay, cool. This is my smaller but nevertheless parent project, which is J. Lechon Media /media. You can find music tributes on here, as well as several video recreations. I just redid the Disney Halloween, although it's a little out of season right now, but still. So you've got some really cool things here. Also, the Disney Channel. You know, when we were talking about Michael Eisner, there's a lot of the source music is on there as well. But the main thing I'm most known for is E82, the Epcot Legacy. So you can go on there. There's various different things for people to enjoy. So you've got our music section, which has over 69 hours of material, all of that meticulously done by the millisecond by me. So we've got our Future World soundtrack series, Atmosphere series, the Disney MGM Studios soundtrack series as well, which is going to be growing exponentially this year as part of our 15th year anniversary. And if you'd like to support me, there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. One is going to the Centaurium store. That's our souvenir shop. Inspired by Epcot's original Centaurium. So you can get all kinds of wonderful t-shirts, mouse pads, artwork. Some of them are actually inspired by cast member costumes as well. So you can get those. And you've got some buttons, some swag, all kinds of fun stuff over there. So you've got that as well. There's tons of material on both of the websites for everyone to enjoy. And I am, of course, also available as Epcot Legacy at X and every other social media platform, as well as JLH Omni at X exclusively.
Yes, and locals.
Can I say those graphics
And locals,
are amazing
yes.
on your site?
Big pardon?
I said, can I say that those graphics are amazing on your site? I love them.
Oh, they're
Thank
beautiful.
you. It's all done by me. All done by me.
I'm like, hot dang, I wish I could create like that.
Yeah,
Right?
I use several of your backgrounds on my PC. So
that's great.
Joshua, after the show, I'm totally asking. I'm like, who designed that Disney Channel thumbnail thing you had for like,
That was
the
me.
history of it? That was you.
I
No
know
way.
the old school Disney Channel logo. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'll reshare so that everyone can see what I'm talking about, what we're talking about here for just a second.
Well, kudos to you.
So did I let it go? I think I let it go. Let me see if I can get. There we go. Okay, we're back. We're back there. Yeah. So this is the album. For this is about an hour and a half long. It's actually all of the source music for every single presentation. You've got the DTV theme, Danger
Oh my
Bay,
gosh, I remember
all the dinosaur
DTV.
stuff. It's all very 80s music and everything. But these are the actual source tracks on there.
Daylight? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then they also have on here. There's actually there. If you go down to here's the thing that most people don't realize. If you go below the playlist on every single one of my albums, and I've released like 42 of them, most of the time you get liner notes, which is included with that, as well as some artwork as well. That one's a restored Disney Channel launch poster for that, as well as the liner notes for, and the original titles and sources for all of the soundtrack stuff on there too as well. So yeah, that was a fun one.
Joshua,
Incredible.
do you promise not to jump scare me this time if I listen to this?
I'll try. Yes. Oh yes, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. There's that. If you go to the Epcot Legacy website, because I did annex in 2019, I annexed the Disney MGM Studios as part of my project because it, like Epcot, is in a catatonic state.
Yeah.
If you go to the Hollywood Tower Hotel, there is a special surprise that does happen during that, and this is all these are all restored recordings. So these actually sound much better than the ones that are actually being broadcast at the attraction. They have no pops and clicks and everything. So instead of sounding like an 80-year-old record, it sounds like it's literally a time portal to 80 years ago during that fateful night in 1939.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow.
I just love it. I love everything that Joshua does. And his archiving stuff extends beyond music, folks. I mean, the amount of concept art this man has is astounding. So definitely check out E82. Support all of our amazing panelists today. And if you'd like to go ahead and, I don't know, follow us here at T3PO, you absolutely can. You can also email us at t3ponline@yahoo.com for, let me see if I can get that on screen. Yes, there you go. For any questions, comments, anything. And also, too, we take your questions for Hollywood Backlight with Lou and you using that same email. So if you have a question for Lou when it comes to Hollywood and how the industry works, go ahead, send those on over as well. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button here. Subscribe to us at That Park Place. If you haven't, hit the like button, as it helps us out against the YouTube algorithm, that's for sure. Share us out. And you're going to be redirected over to Toontown TV for Toon Talk TV over there with Marvin Montanaro and Nolan Thunder. He will be in attendance with probably Kevin Apollo and Lauren Connor and maybe some other guests as well. So definitely stay tuned. You're going to be redirected over there. I believe the show starts at 8
o'clock Eastern time.
8 p.m. Eastern. There you go. So you don't have that long to wait. Let's go ahead and get you on over there right now. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week on T3PO Live. Take care, everybody.